Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Umineko. We're starting the answer arcs. And it looks like we have an exciting beginning to us. At least the background is cool. This would be, of course, the cliff Beato fell down for anyone who doesn't recognize it. So we're off to a good start. I think I was spoiled by looking at the Higurashi Gacha games art. So I think I know who the character depicted instead of Beatrice in the title screen is, in the upper right-hand corner, under the Na in Naku. That should be Battler, I believe, wearing a cloak. If I'm mistaken, I'm mistaken, but I believe that's what it is. Still, I'm ready to get started. Let's dive into this. We're starting from episode 5, The End of the Golden Witch. Good morning, and please enjoy this new game by a new game master at your leisure. However, the game's already reached a climax. The culprit has been cornered, and there's nothing left but to await the final checkmate. For that very reason, there must be something for you to spot looking down on it from afar. The difficulty is easy. What could possibly deceive you after all this time? You know, when they say the ending is nigh, there's nothing to do but await the final checkmate, and then I look at the episode count and realize that we're only halfway through, I get a little bit suspicious, game. I get a little bit suspicious. What could possibly deceive me after all this time? That's right, nothing. I'm undeceivable. That's right. Let's dive into chapter 5, guys. Now, I had to tweak the audio, and you can only tweak the audio in-game. Hopefully it's not too loud. The story is very obviously fictional in nature. Thank you, game. New Game Master hype? Game Master Battler? Is he a better GM than Beato? Guess we'll find out. That's what we're starting with? Being called a baka by Beatrice. Well, that's good. That's good. Okay. Anyone who likes that Beatrice's treatment of people, and possibly that that getting stepped on energy, probably gonna like this. Beatrice would totally step on you. You idiot. Isn't it obvious? So you guys will have to let me know if the audio is off while I'm recording this. If it's too loud, either the voices are too quiet, I'm too quiet, the music's too loud, let me know. Now, isn't it obvious? It'll be fun to kill her and see her face twist in pain. Why else? Whoa, we just cut in here. What's going on? This is literally the start of the chapter. And at least, oh boy, at least two of you want Beato to step on you. It doesn't surprise me. Anyone listening to this recording should absolutely post in the comments whether or not they want Beatrice to step on them. If you want her to, say so. I need to know for my own amusement. Yeah, I'm gonna turn the music down. That's my first thought here. It is a tad loud. Go a little bit quieter. I think that's still audible. Yeah, we can do it 6 for now. Alright. Look, don't turn your eyes away. Look at it. Look. What am I looking at, Beatrice? Look, it's magic, it's furniture, no matter how much you try and deny me, it's and magic. Look. But why are we starting here? It feels a bit unusual. Is this like a nightmare? Is this like Battler's nightmare or something like that? Sorry, Battler. Yeah, we're getting weird flashbacks that are out of sequence. I'm thinking it's a flashback, right? It's a flashback for Battler. Sorry, Battler. It was fun. Sure, I just did what teacher told me, but look how great it turned out. I mean, apparently if you start out all hostile and needlessly brutal, then turn into an incompetent and soft, just person right at the right moment, you can spark a huge bump on your infection meter, right? Yeah, okay, we're talking like end of chapter 3 here. Yep, another flashback, so how many are we going to see before Battler opens his eyes? Just the 2? Okay. Welcome back to the garden. That lonely tone was the desolate sound of the wind blowing by. The glittering rose petals on these bushes were all golden. The cloud of gold butterflies that had once danced through this golden rose garden like fluttering rose petals was no longer anywhere to be seen. The master of the Golden Land is the Golden Witch Beatrice. She might be called inhumane and cruel, arrogant and outrageous, or perhaps naive and simple. That laugh of hers, which lost its grace more and more the longer it continued, could no longer be heard. The Golden Witch Beatrice sat like a doll, resting in a deck chair, adorned as beautifully as the golden rose garden itself. She wasn't relaxing there. Her eyes were empty. She didn't respond to questions. Even so, she was not permitted to sleep. Beatrice sat like a doll. Her hair was down, and Virgilia was carefully tending to it with a comb. The usual Beato would surely have spent this time complaining about this and that regarding her hairstyle. However, she made no response and showed no reaction, so it really only looked like Virgilia was combing the golden hair of a large doll. Looks like we're trapped here still. Alright. There was a table alongside them. On it sat a chessboard along with a jumble of black and white pieces, locked in a closely fought battle. It's the same chessboard we've seen 100 times. However, this setup looked somehow different from normal chess. Oh? Maybe the game was similar, but not identical. On the other side, sitting back in his chair as he contemplated his next move, was a young man. Or perhaps it wasn't his next move he contemplated. Every once in a while, he'd change the positions of the pieces, reconsidering the situation after every change. Maybe he was reconstructing the previous games, trying to discover the thought process behind the moves that had been made. Isn't Beatrice whimsical, which makes it difficult to predict her moves? In the past, Kinzo, the Yoshiromiya family, had once said that learning chessboard arrangements was like taking a journey through the thoughts of the old masters. Yoshiromiya Battler was on a journey. A search for the thought process that led the Golden Witch to create this arrangement and make these moves. Battler took a black piece that should have been moved forward and returned it to its original place, sighing deeply. Battler's pieces were white. Okay, so which of these pieces can get back to its starting location in one move? Only the pawn for black or the right rook? I see. Battler's got a bit of an underdeveloped rook on his side. However, on this chessboard, the black encampment was on Battler's side. Oh, okay. He was reconstructing that arrangement, trying to play Beato's role. The more I do this, the less... Was it... I can't tell if his voice is intentionally quiet or not. I think it is. The more I do this, the less I understand your moves. I think he's muttering to himself, that's why it sounded quiet. Even Battler didn't expect that Beato would respond to that statement. Or rather, he was pretending to talk to himself, thinking there might be some chance of her responding. Beato's just standing there with her hair down. Her eyes reflected nothing. Meanwhile, Beato, not actually in that body, is just off in her tea room, laughing her ass off at him, thinking she's she's been lobotomized. Her eyes reflected nothing, and her mouth told nothing. After begging him to kill her, the Golden Witch had become a corpse that had given up on life. She wasn't sleeping. She couldn't step down from this game and was therefore forbidden sleep, though those words must have reached her ears. However, they probably hadn't reached her heart. The Golden Witch would not sneer at Battler's moves, nor would she praise or belittle them. By now, she was nothing more than a living doll. Even so, she would glance at him every once in a while. It would be an empty glance, but a glance nonetheless. Sometimes she would seem to make some sort of gesture, or even move her lips. However, her movements never managed to communicate anything to Battler. How did you decide this move in this situation? I don't get it at all. Her choices for the 6 at the start? Or who to kill next? Is that what he was contemplating? I don't understand your moves.
Beato?
Battler-kun is talking to you. Surprising nobody should say something. Giggle, guffaw, or something. Even use that shrill laugh of yours if you want. Can you believe it? The shrill laugh of Beato's will never be heard again. Of course not. Yeah, sure. However, even if she couldn't answer, his voice surely reached her. That was what Battler believed as he said these words. So he said it again. I've just decided on this move in this situation. I don't get it at all. I don't understand your moves. You don't understand what this child's thinking? Virgilia answered in her disciple's stead. Up to this point, she'd done her best to avoid speaking for Beato. After all, there was a chance Beato would respond in some way, and Virgilia didn't want to be the one to steal that chance. So Battler was going to have to bear with this silence until Beato herself answered. Virgilia could no longer bear to watch Battler like this, and besides, Battler also wanted to hear what Virgilia had to say. He believed that conversation would reach Beato's heart. Yep. I don't have a clue. The more I try standing in Beato's shoes and moving the pieces like this, the less I understand. A serial murderer following an epitaph. With that as a victory condition, I tried reconstructing the games from the witch's side, but I never ended up making the moves Beato did. In those games, I could find several incomprehensible moves that clearly worked against that victory condition. I don't get it. This journey through her thoughts. It's just too rugged. Even so, you won't give up, will you? I won't. I'm in a rush to get home to my sister, but I'd rather spend eternity here. I promised. Kill me, let me die. I promised to let her die peacefully. How's that going? And I'm the only one who can do it. Okay. Beato's right ankle was bound with a heavy, cold steel shackle. It wasn't tied to anything, so it didn't restrict her movement. However, it symbolized restriction. It was a visualization of the bonds that prevented her from leaving the game until she either won or lost. But she can AFK again. Isn't this the same problem we had last arc? And the shackle was probably hurting her. The mercilessly cold shackle tormented her over and over inside her waking dream. Though there was never any sign of relief in her empty expression, her eyelids would sometimes tremble like she was having a nightmare, and every once in a while she'd let out a pained gasp. Unless I win, Beato will never be released from this. This curse that prevents her from sleeping peacefully. Are you sure you want to be doing this? It seems the 5th game has already started. Not interested. Why should I take part in any game unless Beato is my opponent? Aren't you obligated to play the game? And the game is still going on because Beato's not dead. Perhaps you could learn more from the 5th game? That's the only alternative, then it's a much better use of my time to reconstruct previous games while taking a journey in search of Beato's thought process. So is Game Master Battler gonna take us in? Oh, Lambda! I'll be the next Game Master. Interesting. Any objections? Got none, right? I have nothing but objections. Beato conceded the fight and is unconscious. Isn't this a loss by default and game over for her? I'll admit, a lot's happened to Beato and she's basically been KO'd for now. Doesn't mean she lost the will to fight. And that's why I'm acting as a resistant. Get it? I don't. I honestly don't. Thought it was supposed to be me and Beato. But she's laying down on a deck chair almost as though she was sleeping. However, she wasn't sleeping. She wasn't awake either. She's on that uncomfortable plane, separating the two. She was nothing more than a living doll that had given up on victory, who'd asked Battler to perform her last rites, and who surrendered everything. Of course, if everyone just sat around the next game, the 5th game would never be made ready, so Lambdadelta succeeded Beato as the next Game Master and announced she'd prepare the next game. This is a game between me and Beato. I don't know who you two are, but I'm not gonna let you carry on without us. No one asked for your opinion. It's called Lambda will say whatever it takes to keep Bern around. So what do you do, Bern? Accept my challenge or not? Sure. Go ahead and inherit her role. Quit messing around, the hell? I don't know who you people are, but I'm not gonna let you ignore Beato and me and just carry on by yourselves. And they're just like, nah, this game doesn't concern you, Battler. Take it easy. Okay, sure. A new player means you'll face new kinds of moves. I'm sure you'll see lots of stuff that confuses you. But it might even lead to some big hints, get it? Who cares? Yeah, why does he care? Why is the game continuing without Beatrice? Quit saying whatever the fuck you want and deciding everything on your own. True, Lambdadelta does not leave any room for argument. Beato's game has repeated 4 times and you still don't understand anything, right? Thanks, Bernkastel. So she says, in that case, I expect that swapping out opponents might lead to some huge hints. I mean, that's none of your business. But Battler, you're fighting Lambdadelta, and she's kind of stupid. Okay, maybe not stupid. She's a bit of a moron. I don't know. She definitely doesn't seem like she's all there. None of your business. This is our game. Beato prepared it and designated me to be your opponent. I don't know what hole you two crept out of, but I don't want you screwing things up. In that case, wake Beato up and make her get the next game ready. Beato mentally checked out yet again. Feels bad, man. Can you? Wake her up?
Beato はしばらく起きねえよ。
She won't be getting up for a while.
それに新しいゲームなんて必要ね
Yeah, we don't even need to have another game.
あいつがこれまでに出題してきた4つのゲームの譜面だけで十
The
分だ
4 games she laid out are more than enough. Are you sure? I'm thinking she passed out and because she had an aneurysm. She had passed out as a result of an aneurysm caused by your poor explanations of things. She's like, I can't get on as much hopium/copium as this guy. It's fucking killing me. And then she passed out because his ideas were too dumb.
仮に第5のゲームがあるとしてもそれはベアトが出題し俺に挑むものだけで十分だ
Even if we do have a 5th game, there's no reason it shouldn't just be a puzzle Beato lays out and I take on.
お前らには何の関係もない
There's no reason for you to butt in. I like how he lays out the game counter, which makes it clear that we haven't skipped any intervening games, i.e. Rika's 100 years of repetition. Battler couldn't hide his irritation at the 2 witches called Lambdadelta and Bernkastel, who had shown up well after the game's start and were now trying to take charge on their own. It looked like these witches were off to an even higher rank than Beato. So high, in fact, that even Beato's teacher, Virgilia, couldn't even come close. Isn't Virgilia lower standing than Beato? Battler had the feeling he'd seen these two several times before. I mean, Lambda's intervened. And so has Bernkastel, I believe. Directly in Battler's life. However, this is the first time he'd known their names and spoken to them directly. That's a bit better. Can't get the next game ready without waking Beato. Can we? And that's why I'll prepare the next game. Okay. You aren't so patient. That we're willing to wait for Beato to regain consciousness. I see. Right, Bern? I don't like boredom. It really ticks me off. Well, we really don't give a damn whether you're bored or not. Who's we? Oh, come on now. Leave everything to this perfect Lambdadelta-sama. Okay. I'll take over as Game Master. Don't worry, I won't play with too much absolute perfection. Just like Beato, I'll set up plenty of incomprehensible fakes, clues, and bonus hints. I'll make this game a huge hint that'll help you understand Beato's world even better, okay? Okay. Thanks, sort of, Lambdadelta. Letting my voiceless emotions explode, I slammed the table hard. The 2 witches didn't flinch at all. One grinned, and the other looked indifferent as though nothing had happened. The 2 of them just stared at me silently, as though they were reproaching me. What's this? That's satisfying. Are you saying you'll step down for my 5th game? Isn't that lost by default? I mean, I guess we can hang out forever and claim it's not a loss by default. Battler won't step down. Of course he'll participate in the 5th game. Don't just decide that for yourself. What are you gonna do? Can participate? Oh, you can take a nap. I'm not gonna play along with you two. I don't give a shit. Good luck, okay. Lost by default then? What? I'm playing with Beato. Which side wins this game? Is Battler gonna be this easily baited? Yes, he is. Is it really okay to end this with the humans surrendering? If you step down, the game will end with your loss by default, get it? If If you want to guarantee that your lonely sister always meets with a miserable circumstance in an endless number of worlds, well, that option is indeed open to you. When Bernkastel mentioned NJ, Battler's expression changed instantly. You bastard. Don't you talk about NJ so lightly. Because you have an ally in me, Bernkastel, the Witch of Miracles. There exists the possibility of a miracle in which NJ's family comes home to her. Well, if you do throw that chance away and guarantee NJ's endless futures all end in sorrow, that might be pretty interesting too. Thanks. I vaguely understood what she was saying. Until I win Beato's game, I'm remaining trapped in this bizarre world, and if I abandon that victory, then most certainly my parents and I will never return to NJ. For NJ's sake, even though I know the wishes are toying with me, I have to keep on fighting. Wrong? You look unsatisfied. Have you already forgotten how angry you were when your sister was turned to mincemeat? You know, that spectacle where she was torn to pieces, torn to bits, ripped to pieces by countless red-hot pliers? Watching it more closely next time, okay? Bernkastel pointed the palm of her right hand upward, and as she did, a pale light gathered there, and some kind of blue glowing crystal appeared there. A scene was reflected on its sharp surface, but it wasn't the scene that surrounded them now. If you looked deep into the crystal, the fragment, then you'd probably learn what was reflected on there. If you stared at it, then you'd surely see the end NJ finally reached after waiting 12 years and giving up everything for the sake of her beloved brother. The scene of her death throes as her entire body was torn to bits while she still lived. Without thinking, he grabbed at her collar, but as soon as he touched that which made up her form, it disappeared like foam on the waves. And as naturally as though she'd been there from the beginning, Bernkastel was leaning against a distant wall. If you step down from the game, it'll come not just a fragment, but a definite reality. I won't be the one to create that future. You'll do it yourself. Decide, okay? Figure out what you want to do with your beloved little sister's future. Battler's fists shook with anger, but even if he swung them down, he wouldn't be able to hit Bernkastel. This witch was like a phantom or a cat who wouldn't even let someone pet her if she didn't wish for it. And she was telling the truth. For NJ's sake, I can't step down from the fight, even if these unpleasant witches hijack the game board. Guess you're just stuck playing it forever. That's just like you, Bern. You're even heartless when you threaten people. That's how it is, Battler. You aren't allowed to step down from the game board. You and Beato are nothing more than pieces on the board that exist to distract us from our boredom. Even your incomprehensible anger and irritation make for a wonderful treat to satisfy us. But, well, you see, what you're doing now only makes for a cheap snack. It's like those curry-flavored potato wafers that sell for 30 yen a pair. I see. Damn witches. Damn witches is right. I'm with you, Battler. Why, for Enchi's sake, okay?
でしょ?
And Beato's too, right? Right? In a way that was admonishing or perhaps babying, like the headache you get after eating something too sweet, Bernkastel tormented Battler and smiled. By now, the host of this tea party, Beato, was absent. The guest witches were already making themselves at home. Oh, what are you gonna do, Shiromiya Battler? Will you surrender to fate? Just sit down. You've had enough of being toyed with as a witch's piece, right? It sure is tough being one of Burn's pieces. I'm sure she'll use you and throw you away just like she did with NJ. I'm not giving you the option of stepping down. Keep fighting for the sake of your sister's future. I'm your ally. Until you win, I'll be supporting you so you can reach that future. For all eternity until I get bored. Until she gets bored, most notably. Boredom before death, probably. I can't let her provocation and cajolery rile me up. The witches knew I get mad easy, and they're trying to take advantage of that. Battler withstood it all and finally relaxed his clenched fist.
If
you want to start this 5th game of yours, go ahead, do it. Do whatever you want. I will do whatever I want. Where are you going? Even though Battler acknowledged the 5th game, he turned his back on them, much to Lambdadelta's surprise. If you're going to be Beato's substitute, then I'm sure that Bernkastel witch over there can go stand in for me if she wants. Not a bad idea. Better than a loss by default. Are you just going to ignore episode 5? I put so much work into making it. So rude! Rude! Battler says he's going to take a break for a while. Until he comes back, I'll be his substitute. Sounds fair, okay. How's that sound, Battler? You do that? Lambda's upset, but she should have seen that one coming. What's wrong, Lambda? Are you gonna refuse to play if it's against me instead of that fool, Battler? Of course not, of course not. Glad I get to play with you, Bernkastel. Come on, let's play. Let's play. Let's play together. And Lambdadelta-sama's super hyper and cute episode 5. Technically a world Beato created. You aren't gonna ruin the atmosphere of the story, are you? Don't worry about that. I'm good at reading between the lines for that sort of stuff. I'm a little bit worried now. I made sure to use a Beato-ish atmosphere to make a tale that's even more interesting. Battler, make sure you come as soon as the break's over, okay? It'd be a shame to miss this. I've set up plenty of bonuses that'll get you closer to Beato's secrets. Or at least, that's what it'll look like when it's actually misdirection that causes stuff to be more and more confusing. Wait, Battler, why aren't you listening when I wish is talking? Without answering, Battler disappeared into the darkness, and after shrugging and cackling, the witches immediately started playing with the game board they'd stolen from Beato. Oh, we're not back to Rockin' Shima yet.
ベアトのゲームは理解できるの
Can those witches really understand Beato's game? I think they probably can. Importantly, Lambdadelta was poking holes in it, and Bernkastel was kind of just watching, being like, yeah, that was kind of solvable. Or at least they had more information and understood the arguments better, so they might be able to set things up. They could turn it into Higurashi, yeah, they could. I'm interested to see how this game plays out under a different management. Lambdadelta and Bernkastel are both interesting characters, and they might bring a new twist to the game.
同じゲーム版を使う以上、この子にできないことはできません。
Since they're using the same game board, they can't do anything this child can't do.
しかし、この子がやらないことはやれます。
However, they can do things this child wouldn't do.
やらないこととは何だ
What do you mean wouldn't do?
チェスの道具はチェスで遊ぶために存在します。
Materials of chess exist so you can play chess. There's some things it seems she wouldn't do. Maybe she's not willing to kill Battler in the start of the game.
それを使ってトランプをすることはできない。
Materials of chess exist you can play. You cannot use them to play cards. True, true. Like, if we think about it, though, Beatrice might play differently than Bernkastel or Lambdadelta, but they do have some similar things they would do, or things they'd always have to do and or not do. I think it's possible Battler could die in 5 through 8 if they're all run by Lambdadelta and Bernkastel. He could die in-game. That might be interesting. And so far, due to his nature as like the viewpoint character for Battler, he hasn't really bit it anywhere near the end of the arc. Like, even late into the arc, he doesn't really die. He dies at the very end when there's nothing left to see. The rest of the game is just going to be Higurashi. Get ready for some odd club games and punishment games. Ones that involve being trapped in this hell world for another few centuries.
しかし、チェスの駒を相手に投げつけてぶつけたり、チェス盤に落書きしてみたり。
However, when it comes to throwing chess pieces at your opponent and scribbling on the
そういう
board,
行為をすることも不可能ではありません。
such things are not impossible to do. So it's like you can't play cards with chess pieces, but you can throw chess pieces at your opponent or scribble on the board.
しか
Okay.
しそれはチェスに対する冒涜だから
It would be blasphemy against the game of chess,
誰
though.
もやらない。
So people choose not to do that. And you're saying that Lambdadelta is going to be down for that? Okay. Lambdadelta, officially someone who throws their chess pieces at their opponent to win the game. Alright. It definitely wouldn't be chess anymore. Beato's eyes seem to cloud slightly with sadness.
ふざけやがって
Damn that.
これは俺とベアトのゲームだ
This game's between me and Beato.
他の誰にも
And they gotta do
冒涜は
this,
させ
yeah.
ない
I won't let anyone else defile it. A bit too late. At that time, gold butterflies gathered and Ronove appeared, holding a tea set with black tea.
紅茶のおかわりはいかがですか
Would you like some more tea?
もらえるか
If you wouldn't mind.
かしこまりました
Certainly.
いかがですか
So,
お嬢様の思考を探る旅は
how was this journey in search of Milady's thoughts? I still feel like the music's too loud.
さっぱりだが楽しんでるぜ
I don't know. I don't have a clue, but I'm enjoying it.
しかし
Are you?
よろしいのですか
Are you sure about
こ
this?
ちらでくつろがれていても
Is it truly alright for you to just relax here?
あの魔女どもが勝手に進めてるゲームのことか
You mean the game those witches just started by themselves?
え
Indeed.
え先ほど紅茶をお届けに伺った時にはもう第一の番の殺人が起こり
Indeed. Just now, when I went to serve them some tea, the murderers of the first Twilight had already taken
もう
place.
じきその次の殺人も起こりそうな気配でした
Seemed the next murder would occur shortly. When Beato and I were playing, the game would be paused whenever someone left their seats. However, those witches wouldn't pause the game just because I wasn't around.
ロノウェは奴らのゲームを見たのか？
Well, Renove, did you see their game?
一部ではございますが。
Just a small part.
どうだった？
How was it? Renove lifted the pot high with an elegant gesture as he poured the black tea. After finishing, he finally spoke. He gave us his impressions of it.
愛がありませんな。
It did not have love.
愛ってなんだ？
What do you mean, love?
これは
My
失礼。
apologies.
女性風に申し上げるとです。
That's how a woman might put it. Well, that's a little sexist.
男性風に申し上げるならば、
As a man,
義理が通らぬと申しましょうか。
one might call it dishonorable. I understood what those words meant. When I met Virgilia's eyes, she shook her head slightly and stared at the floor.
上辺は大変よくお嬢様のゲームに似せていると思います。
I believe it resembles Milady's games greatly on the surface. I'm going to turn the voices up. They're way too
こ
quiet.
のバカが！
しかし、
However, its
根本が大きく異なっています。
its foundation is quite different.
それはベアトのゲームのルールに反することなのか？
Does it go against the rules of Beato's
い
game?
いえ、反し
No,
ません。
no, it doesn't.
ラムダデルタ様は、お嬢様のゲームのルールを実によく理解なされております。
Lambdadelta actually does understand the rules of Milady's game very, very
し
well.
かし、
However, Battler stood up. There was no need to make Runaway say anymore.
バトラク、
Battler-kun.
ロノウェ、すまない。
Sorry, Runaway.
せっかく入れてもらったけど、紅茶はいらねえぜ。
He says, I know you went through all the trouble of pouring this tea for me, but it's not what I need.
やはり参られますか。
Tsubuko. After all?
ああ、
Yeah.
俺たちのゲームに部外者はいらない。
We don't need outsiders in our game. These guys weren't even here in the beginning because I've been loafing about crazier and crazier witches have been introduced, and now they hijacked the game between me and
取り
Beatrice.
返さねえとな。
I'm gonna go take it back.
ベアトのゲーム版は今は俺が預かってるはず
Right
なん
now,
だ。
I'm supposed to be the one taking care of Beato's
そ
game
の
board.
俺がここでぼんやりしてるわけにはいかない。
That means I can't just sit around here.
ありがと
Thank
う。
you.
その言葉をこの子に聞かせてやりたかった。
I wanted to let this child hear those words.
きっと聞こえていますよ。
I'm sure she
お
hears
嬢
them.
様はそれにお返事す
She's
ることが
simply
できないだけ
unable to
です。
answer. She's been stabbed one too many times and is taking a nap with her sisters in the other room, or with the sisters in some other room. Beato lay there silently like a living doll with dull eyes. The game board she'd created herself had been hijacked by incomprehensible people. It was being turned into a mess. If I was designated to be her opponent, then Beato must have created this game for me. I've got to take it back.
待ってろ。
Wait here.
俺が取り返してくる。
I'll go take it back. No response from Beato. She didn't respond in any way. That's right. If she can't respond, I'll have to protect it in her place. Why? Aren't we rivals? Aren't we trying to kill each other? Didn't she kill your whole family?
行ってくるぜ。
I'll be right
バ
back.
ルギリア、ロノウェ、
Virgilia? Runaway?
黄金の眠り姫の面倒を頼むぜ。
I'm counting on you guys to look after this golden sleeping beauty.
はい、お任せを。
Leave it to us, sir.
いってらっしゃい。バトラク。
See you later, Battler.
そしてどうか
And please, please.
この子のいないゲームにてこの子の何かを見つけてあげてくださ
In
い。
the game without this child, please try to find some
も
part
し
of
そ
her.
れを見つけるこ
If you
とが
can.
できたとえこの子が不在であってもあなたはこの子と戦っ
Then
て
even
く
if
れ
this
たこ
child
と
is
にな
absent,
る。
it will mean you have fought with her.
そうだよな。
Yeah, you're right.
あ
Um,
あ、全然ダメだぜ。
it's all useless.
俺は何をやってるんだ。
What am I doing? Let's go and take it back.
魔女ども、待たせたな。
Sorry to keep you waiting,
俺の
witches.
休憩は終わりだぜ。
Break time is over. When he faced the jet black heavens and yelled this, the whole world scattered as though it was made of thin glass. Then, as though it had been that way since the beginning, it transformed into that smoking room where Battler had fought Beato so many times, and which the two witches had now hijacked.
なにあんた
What do you think you're
今
doing?
頃戻ってきたの
You're only coming back
超
now?
遅すぎ
It's way too
もう
late.
ゲームは2日目どころか大詰めも大詰めよ
Only has the game reached the second day, it's already at the finale, get it?
バトラがいつまでも来ないから私が勝手に進めちゃったわ
You never showed up, so I just advanced things on my own. Fair enough. Like you even waited for me in the first place.
ベルンはあんたよりずーっと頭が冴えてて痛快だったわよね
It was way more skillful and thrilling than you were, right? Right?
うるせえ。
Shut up.
プレイヤーは俺だ。
I'm the
代
player.
役の魔女どもは引っ込んでろ。
You substitute witches can just take a step back now.
別に今から参加しても構わないけどもう出番ないわよ多分
Well, I don't really mind if you join in starting now, but there's probably no need for you anymore.
確かにだってもうクライマックスもクライマックス
We're already at the climax.
これで多分ベルンが詰めてゲームセットだもの
After this, Burn probably corners me and wins.
なんだと。
What?
いいんじゃない
Nothing wrong with that, is there?
最後の爪くらい見物しても
Why don't we let him watch the final endgame?
そうねおいで
Of
な
course.
さい後ろ宮バトラ
Come on over, Battler.
もうほとんどおしまいだけど私の作ったキュートでエレガントなゲーム
It's almost completely over, but here's the cute and elegant game I
エ
made.
ピソード
Episode
5
5.
End of the
Aimed
ゴー
up
ルデンウィッチ
the Golden Witch. The spicy name. Yes, it is amusing that the Higurashi characters take over the game from the Umineko ones. Because the Umineko ones keep bitching out of the game. Alright. So, first night. Let's see. Ishirimiya Jessica. Corpse found in the cousin's room on the second floor of the guest house. Direct cause unknown, slit by a sharp blade. Wound was deep enough anyone could easily confirm her death with certainty. Get her throat slit. Okay. Corpse found in the cousin's room on the second floor of the guest house. Direct cause of death unknown. Was slit open by a sharp blade. Wound deep enough anyone could see he's dead immediately. Hideyoshi found in a guest room in the first floor of the mansion a demon stake through the back. The tip of it reaching as far as his lungs. He was laying face down on the bed. It's unthinkable it was a suicide. Okay. Ooh, Maria dead immediately. Corpse found in the cousin's room on the second floor of the guest house. Direct cause of death unknown. There's a blade. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Servant waiting room. On the first floor of the mansion. Direct cause of death unknown. Sliced open with a sharp blade. Okay, so... Wait, 5 corpses? There's only 5 bodies so far for the first night. Did someone screw up? Bernkastel, the Witch of Miracles. Also is known as the witch who knows that miracles don't occur. In the 5th game, participates as a player in opposition to Beato. However, from the beginning, her aim has been to deny the illusion of the witch. Her only goal is to crush Beato in her world, as a way to stave off boredom. Though she does deny the illusion of the witch, she's no ally of battlers. In place of Beato, who stepped down from the position of Game Master in the 4th game, Lambda takes over as the new GM in Game 5. While the 5th game may be similar to the previous ones, there will be differences. She hates boredom as much as Bernkastel, and depending on the situation, may either become an enemy or ally to Beato or Burn. In the 5th game, he's displeased that Lambdadelta took over as GM, so he doesn't participate as a player. No new information for these guys. Here we go. In the 5th game, clashes with Bernkastel, who denies the illusion. Okay. Because she herself is nothing more than a piece, and the higher plane version of her stepped down, she isn't in a position where she can know the truth of the 5th game, putting her in a new position than the one she held in previous games. So instead of being slashed open, this guy's actually killed in a unique way. Interesting. Everyone else is seemingly alive. Alright. So the state of the game is, presumably the first night is over. And one of the people actually got killed by a demon stake, weirdly enough. So she's doing the kills out of order. Interesting. I mean, it didn't say they had to be, they couldn't be stabbed by the stake, right? Okay. Right now, no humans exist on the island except for those in this parlor. With one exception, it's been shown that none of them have committed murder. The culprit is among these people.
Oi, oi.
Whoa, whoa.
なると決定的じゃねえか。
That means it's conclusive, isn't it?
魔女が犯人で魔法で殺人を犯したわけでない限り。
Unless the culprit's a witch who committed murder with magic, that is.
あんたなの？
It was you?
あんたがジョージを、主人を殺したの？
You killed George, my
ど
husband?
うしてよ？
Why?
どうして？ 私は殺していません。
I didn't kill anyone.
私は
I didn't.
何も。
In a panic and with a voice that was far from calm, in a manner that was, to put it coldly, unsightly, Aunt Natsuhi denied the suspicion placed on her. However, there's no longer any way around it. She stood up, brushed back her long hair, and pointed at Aunt Natsuhi and said it one more time.
あなたが犯人です。
You're the
後
culprit.
宮夏日さん。
Ushiramiya Natsuhi-san. Who the fuck are you, Missy? Lightyear. Don't worry, Lambda won't do anything too crazy, and she immediately adds a character. So, we have a new character, if it wasn't obvious.
夏日です。開けてください。
It's Natsuhi. Please open up. Oh, we'll open up in a second, Natsuhi. But Natsuhi is the murderer this time around, apparently. According to whoever this new character is. The OC. The new OC they've added. It looks like another witch. They're dressed fantastically. And are they visible to everyone else? I guess we'll find out. I wonder if they removed... Because there's a new DM, I wonder if this is... I was going to say, I wonder if this is Lambdadelta's insert, but it probably is... It might actually be Bernkastel's insert, but it seems very energetic, so maybe it's Lambdadelta's? Well, we'll see how it goes. After all, NPC Battler was clearly shown there. So, presumably she could control Battler's character still. I don't know. An interesting twist, adding a new character this late in the series and in this arc, but hey, let's see how it goes. She has too much life in her, can't be Burns' friend. True, true. But I mean, NJ had some life when things went down. When shit went down. NJ went full Giga Chad. Fucking got shit done. Even if she was like robotic half the time, she knew when to be serious and when not to be. So I believe in the possibility that it could be someone else. It could be either of those. But if she's too happy-go-lucky, it's almost certainly Lambdadelta's. Someone's adding their own Mary Sue. It is a literal self-insert. Thanks, Lambda. As she knocked loudly and repeatedly, Natsuhi yelled. Shortly after, there was a heavy clunking sound, and the sound of the door to Kinzo's study unlocking could be heard. As the door opened, a heavily sweet, venomous odor flowed out. Natsuhi was always ashamed of how she automatically grimaced at that, even though she thought it rude to the family head. Kraus was waiting for her inside the study. Natsuhi flew into his arms. His father, is he? Calm yourself. Dr. Nanjo's investigating him now. With an uncertain gait, Natsuhi walked towards the center of the study, supported by Kraus. There, a dignified bed fitting for the Ashiromiya family head could be seen along with Nanjo, Genji, and Kumasawa. Nanjo. His father. After sighing deeply, Nanjo left the side of the bed. On the bed, Kinzo could be seen lying down asleep. He died peacefully. I don't think Kinzo-san had any regrets. Natsuhi's crying. After we just came to the conclusion that he was dead the whole time, it's kind of like, well, I'm sorry, Natsuhi, but you're only learning this now. Sobbing, Natsuhi slumped down over the chest of that man, who'd fallen to a sleep from which he would never awaken. Feels weird that Natsuhi's the one really broken up over this instead of anyone else, like, you know, his actual children. Man. Please, stay strong. Actual kids standing there staring. Natsuhi, married into the family, crying over him and wailing like she'd just lost the love of her life. Father. It's too sudden. Didn't they think he was gonna die like 9 months ago, and it's the same disease that presumably got him? Natsuhi couldn't stop crying over the death of the man who she loved like a second father. Kumasawa rubbed Natsuhi's back, consoling her. Kraus slumped into his late father's favorite chair. By sitting there, he might have been immersed in the memories of his departed father, or perhaps he just thought that by sitting there he might be able to understand a bit of the madness of Kinzo's later years, which he had never been able to comprehend before. And Nanjo, just as he had when Kinzo once sat in that chair, contemplating a chess move, turned his back and looked down over the outside world as though through a crack in the curtains.
同じ死ぬならせめて寝込んで1年後に死亡とか。
If only he'd been sick in bed for a year or so
もう
first.
少ししかるべき準備の猶予期間を設けてから死んで欲しかったの
I
ね。
do wish he could have died after a grace period during which the proper arrangements could have been made.
それは逆だ。
It's the other way
最
around.
後の瞬間までお元気だったことを喜ぶべきです。
He should be glad he was in high spirits till the end, yeah. It's a bit more depressing when someone's just laying in bed waiting for death.
建前上はそうなるがね。
At least that's true as far as public appearances are concerned. Nanjo understood that as well. Yoshirimiya Kinzo, who had risen like a comet and glittered like a supernova in the post-war business world, had died. His funeral would probably be of a fantastic scale. It would be the ceremony marking Krause's inheritance of headship. He'd have to arrange everything as host of the event, carry out funeral diplomacy perfectly, make it clear to all the Yoshirimiya that the Yoshirimiya family still had enormous influence in the political and financial spheres. And as Nanjo watched Krause, he was vividly reminded of the time when Kinzo had been suddenly selected as the Yoshirimiya family head. Oh, was Nanjo there for that? When Kinzo had been lost and confused. In this way, he was able to understand Krause's distress and sympathize with it. Natsuhi's sobs eventually subsided. Watching this and leaving Kumasawa to care for Natsuhi as a fellow woman, Genji returned to where Krause was. And as though asking what should be done, Genji lowered his head slightly.
手続き等は私と源氏さんでやろう。
Genji and I will deal with the
クラウス
formalities.
さんはまずは親戚の方々に連絡した方
Krause,
がいいでしょう。
perhaps you should contact the relatives first. Looks like everyone's been resurrected. Just checking that. Because I wasn't sure of the timeline. I was thinking, this seems unusual. Krause, with his hands still over his eyes, didn't respond. Krause, realizing that he suddenly has a lot of responsibility. Perhaps even though he'd known this day would come. Krause really couldn't hide his shock at how suddenly it reached them. He had like a year's notice, right? Leave this to Dr. Nanjo and me.
旦那様はまずは奥様とご相談いただくのが
Krause,
良いと
I
思います。
suggest you first speak with the madam. Maybe she heard that, or maybe it was coincidence. As though responding to Genji's words, Natsuhi came over. Her eyes were red from crying so much. But she apparently understood the heavy responsibility that had been imposed on them better than Krause did.
これからはあなたが栄光ある後ろ宮家の当主です。
Starting now, you are the head of the glorious Ushirimiya family. This might even be before the thing takes place, right?
お父様の後を立派に継いだことを内外に示しましょう。
Let's show everyone, inside and out, you have splendidly succeeded your father.
この夏日、あなたの妻として棺を並べる日までお仕えする覚悟です。
As their wife, Natsuhi and I, Natsuhi, am prepared to serve you until the day our coffins are laid down alongside each other. Wait, don't they not use coffins in Japan? Isn't it usually cremation? Anyway. Trying to encourage her husband, who was overcome with shock, Natsuhi lent him some reassuring words, and when Krause finally lowered his hands that had been covering his face, he looked up at the ceiling with a blank expression and let out a deep, deep sigh.
どうかしっかり
Please stay
お
strong.
父様の残したものを食い荒らそうと目論む輩が大勢いるのですよ。
There are a great many people who will plan on devouring everything father has left behind. Indeed.
私たちはお父様の名誉と財産を守るために戦わなければなります。
We must fight to protect father's honor and wealth.
それが後ろ宮家当主の最初の仕事ですよ。
It's the first responsibility the Shiramiya had.
分かってる。
Understood.
分かっているとも。
I understand.
南條先生と源氏はお役所や葬儀業者への手配をお願いします。
Dr. Nancho, Genji, please take care of the legal and funeral arrangements.
特に源氏、
Especially you,
お
Genji.
父様の葬儀にふさわしいものとなるよう特に手配を頼みますよ。
I ask that you take particular care and see to it the funeral will be a fitting one for father. Alright, time for a death game. Time for a death game. Certainly.
それから南條先生、
Dr. Nanjo?
お父様は病院でお亡くなりになったわけではないので、その
Father didn't pass away in the hospital, so...
うん
Indeed.
場合によっては解剖が入るかもしれませんな。
An autopsy may be required depending on circumstances.
なんとかなりませんか。
Can you do something about that?
亡くなったとはいえ、お父様の大切なお体です。
Though he's passed away, father's body is precious.
傷をつけるなど耐えられることではありません。
Any damage done to it would not be acceptable.
気持ちはわかる。
I understand how you feel.
そういうところをきっちりすることも大切だ。
However, it's also important to deal with these matters properly.
それにその
And I don't know how to say this.
難しい親族の方々が多いんじゃないかね。
Several of the relatives might make things difficult, yes? Who knew how those vultures after the inheritance might try to find fault with them? They might claim to have found some reason to suspect the cause of death, using that as the point of contention to start trouble. Right now it's important not only to pay Kinzo's remains the respect they were due, but also to solidify the position of the new family head Kraus. Well, nobody's died yet, and they seem more concerned about the family head than the body count, so I'm guessing this is well before the events take place.
わかりました。
Understood.
必要最小限にお願い
Keep
し
it
ま
to
す
an。absolute minimum.
間違ってもお父様の威厳が損なわれるようなお姿にしないように。
Make sure father's dignity is not damaged, even by mistake.
それは大丈夫だ。
That's fine.
安心し、とにかく
Don't worry.
金蔵さんのことはわしらに任せて、夏日さんはクラウスさんのそばにいてあげなさい。
In any event, please leave Kinzo-san to us and stay by
こ
Kraus-san's
れから
side.
が大変なんだから。
Things will be getting quite difficult from here on out.
わかっています。
I
あ
understand.
なたもどうかしっかり。
You two do. Please, stay strong.
ふう
Kraus is like, ooh. Oh, he's still staring blankly at the ceiling with a befuddled expression on his face. She understood the shock and heavy responsibility he bore. Natsuhi understood her husband's feelings as much as anyone.
親族への連絡は私がし
I'll
ます。
contact the relatives.
今だけは休まれてください。
Please, rest for the time being. Kraus didn't respond. Natsuhi, thinking him to be a bit unreliable at the moment, decided she'll offer her support. Seeing her husband like this actually spurred her to action, and a resolute expression rose to her face.
これから忙しくなります。
Things will be getting busy from now on.
今できることを始めましょう。
Let's start by doing whatever we can
夫
now.
はきっとお父様と二人きりで話したいこともあると思います。
I'm sure my husband wants to have some time alone with
私た
father.
ちは一度ここを退出しましょう。
We should step out for a moment.
そうでございますね。
Good
その
point.
時間はきっと今しか取れないでしょうから。
This will probably be the last time he has the chance. Being in charge of a funeral is tiring work. There's no time to shed tears. If Kraus were ever to be given time to cry for his dead father, that time would have to be now. Everyone agreed with Kumasawa's words. Even so, Kraus continued to stare blankly at the ceiling and didn't respond in any way. Natsuhi urged the relatives to go.
私はジェシカにも話してきます。
I'll go talk to
今
Jessica
やあ
too.
の子が次期当主です。
She's now successor to
そ
the
れに
headship.
ふさわしい自覚を持つようによく言い聞かせな
I'll
くて
tell
は。
her to be fully prepared.
待て。
Wait. Is this where Kraus is like, nah, we shouldn't reveal that yet? As they each started to make their way out of the study, Kraus finally spoke. They stopped walking.
はい、
Yes?
待て。
Wait.
はい。
Yes? Hadn't she already stopped walking like her husband had asked? Despite that, he told her to once again wait. From those slightly weak words, Nazi understood he'd probably stopped her because he wanted her to be by his side.
お前たちは下へ。
The rest of you, downstairs.
私は夫と言います。
I'll stay with my
何かあっ
husband.
たらここに電話するように。
Call us on the phone if anything happens.
かしこまりました。
Certainly.
だから待てと言っている。
I thought I told you to wait. When Kraus suddenly raised his voice, everyone jumped and turned around. Unable to comprehend what she had done to spark her husband's wrath, Natsuhi ran up to him.
どうしましたあなた。
What's wrong, my dear?
私は何か失礼なことを口に
Have
し
I
てしまい
something
まし
wrong?
たか。
Rude? What? Okay, so this is presumably where Kraus is like, we're gonna delay the body announcement. You know, the The conference is happening soon and they need to be alive for this? Or he needs to be alive for the conference? Or something? Is that where this happens? That's kind of what I was thinking was happening when I realized everyone was alive and they're talking about his death. I'm like, he's clearly not the first death, so this must be a prequel scene again. Similar to, like, the vacation on the island with Shannon.
だったらお許しを。
If I've said something rude, please forgive me.
いや違う。
No, that's not it. That's
そうじゃ
not
ない
it.
少し待て。時間をくれ。
Give me some time.
ええ、分かっています。
I understand.
心を整理するためにも必要です。
It's important to sort things out inside your heart.
私たちはその時間をあなたにあげようと、
We're just gonna leave
ここ
this
から
place in
静か
silence.
に出ていくだけですよ
Give。you some time, okay?
だからそれを待てというのだ。
And I'm telling you to wait before doing that.
いいか。誰もその場から動く
Listen,
な。
no one move.
一歩たりともだ。
Not even an inch.
疲れたなら、椅子にでもソファーにでも好きに座ればいい。
You're tired, feel free to sit in whatever sofa or chair you want.
だから何も喋らずに静かに黙って何もせずにいろ。
Just stay quiet, don't talk, don't do anything. Oh? Those unreasonable words felt like a glimpse of how Kinzo used to be. Natsuhi couldn't hide her slight surprise at the behavior, which almost made it seem as though Kinzo had possessed her husband. That's right, Kinzo possesses people like a demon. Natsuhi told the servants to wait for the time being. He ordered them to sit on a sofa a short distance off and approached her husband, speaking to him in a small voice. He's sitting in the chair still, right?
あなたがお命じになれば、夏日はいくらでも待ちます。とどまります。
If you order it, I will wait however long you ask. I won't move. But a why would be nice. Right?
ですからどうか、お気を鎮められてください。
Please, try and calm yourself. She's thinking people...
そうで
That's
は
not
ない
it. It's not it. It's not it. That's not
そう
it.
ではないのだ。
Was it really blood or was he actually being possessed? Krause's disorderly style of speech strongly resembled Kinzo's. As she watched this, Natsuhi became certain Krause was Kinzo's son after all. And that he was the true successor, more suitable than any person. Only slightly biased.
夏日、
Natsuhi?
こっち。
Okay. Come here. Sure. Krause stood up and headed toward the window, trying to lengthen the distance between himself and the servants waiting on the sofa by even a small amount. Natsuhi realized he must have something secret to discuss. Like, say, delaying a battery discovery announcement until after or something?
はい、あなた、
Here?
何事ですか？
What is it?
親父に死なれては
Father dying.
まずいのだ。
It's bad.
しかし、もうお亡くなりになりました。
But he's already passed
そうい
away.
うわけには参りません。
We can't turn back time.
そうじゃない。
That's
今
not
は
it.
まずいんだ。
It's bad that it happened now.
どういうことですか？
What do you mean?
親父の財産を担保にしている。
I've been putting father's fortune up as collateral. Here we go. He admits to it.
相続問題になれば隠し通せない。
I won't be able to hide it when the division of the inheritance comes into question.
は
What?
あ、担保ですか？
Collateral,
い
you
かほ
said?
ど。
How much?
メロディーランドの時、近藤君を応援したことがあっただろう。
Do you remember how I helped out Kondo-kun back in Melodyland?
あの方とは縁を切れと申し上げたじゃあり
Didn't
ま
I
せん
tell
か。
you to break ties with that person? Oh god. Krause. Krause losing all his money. How much did you bet on Melodyland being the new Disney? How much did you bet?
私には断ったと言ったはず。
I thought you said you
ど
refused
う
him.
して？
Why?
男の義理というものがある。
There's such a thing as a man's honor, aka this man is a wallet warrior. Alright. I couldn't refuse. Krause claimed to hold honor as a virtue. However, Natsuhi knew he most often used it as an excuse for when he reluctantly went along with some deal he just couldn't refuse.
お金に余裕があるならいざ知れず。
Wouldn't be a problem if we had plenty of money on
この
hand.
島のリゾート計画でかなりの借金をされたのではありませんでしたか？
Didn't you borrow a lot of money for the plan to turn this island into a resort?
ああ、したさ。
I
方
did.
々で恩人に世話になったのだ。
And there were people here and there who lent me a hand
そ
along
れ
the
らを
way.
返済するためにも座しているわけにはいかない。
If I'm gonna repay them, I can't just sit around on my
返
hands.
済するためには金がいる。
You need money to repay
金を
people.
生むためには金がいる。
Money to make
金が
money.
なければ始まらない。
You can't even get started without money.
この島の計画だって企画会社がおかしなことにならなければ順調だったのだ。
Even the plan for this island would be proceeding smoothly if there hadn't been problems with the planning company.
都の役人とも連携は取れていた。
Made contact with a government official
東
in the
京都
city.
の新しい観光スポットになると知事の太鼓判ももらえていた。
I even got the governor's word that this would be the new travel destination in the Tokyo
私
metropolis.
の根回しは完璧だったのだ。
The groundwork I laid was perfect.
たまたま巡り合わせとタイミングが悪かった。
Random chance and bad
ちょっと
timing
し
were
た
against
運
me.
のすれ違い。
It's just a bit of
事
bad
故
luck,
みたいなものだった。
like a traffic accident.
あれは事故なんかではありません。
That was no accident. It was fraud.
あなたは騙されたのです。
You were tricked. Kraus being tricked because he's bad at
初めか
business.
ら彼らはこの島のリゾート計画など描けていなかったのです。
They were never drawing up plans for turning this island into a resort in the first place.
そんなことはないぞ。
That's not true.
土方君のビジョンは先見性に溢れていた。
Hijikata-kun's vision was simply overflowing
世
with,
界と未
with
来に目を
foresight.
向けた広大な視野は、私が夢だと信じていたものなど、
The way his
猫
eyes
の
always
額ほ
focused
ど
on
の
the whole
広さし
world.
かないことを教えて
The
くれ
future.
た。夢が広がる。世界に未来に。
He taught me that things I always believed to be mere dreams were only the tip of the iceberg of what's possible. Expand your dreams to the whole world, to the
夏日も一
future.
緒に聞いていただろう。
You heard him say that too, right? Right?
ええ、聞いていました。そしてお帰りになられた後に申し上げたはずです。
I remember. I heard, and I remember telling you what I thought after we
あ
returned
の
home.
方はうさんくさい。
I said he was
語
suspicious.
るのは未来ばかりで地に足がついていない。
And I said that he only spoke of dreams and didn't have his feet planted on the
こ
ground.
れ以上お付き合いしてはならないと。
You shouldn't have further relations with him.
土方君は立派な好青年だ。
Hijikata-kun is a wonderful, pleasant young man. A wonderful, pleasant young man who is ripping you off.
彼の生き様からは学ぶことも多いぞ。
One could learn a lot from the way he
彼は
lives.
若いが尊敬できる。
I respect him despite his youth. He's
彼
scammed
の
you.
ことを侮辱することは許さんぞ。
I won't have you
あなたは
insulting
同
him.
じことを月旅行の時にもおっしゃいました。
That's what you said about the moon tourism thing. Wait, isn't this 1986? Moon tourism? How badly are you getting scammed? Moon tourism?
先見性がある、未来がある、夢があると連呼され、その挙句はいかがでしたか？
You kept saying it was visionary. It looked to the future. It had high aspirations. What was the end result?
高等無形な話だったと、あなた自らがお認めになったではありませんか？
You yourself admitted it was utter nonsense, right? Friendly reminder, even the billionaires haven't been to the moon yet. They went into space, though, right? Bezos threw a bunch of money at the wall to get into space. For like 5 minutes. Yeah, threw his billions at the wall for that, but no, he hasn't done space yet. He hasn't done the moon yet. There's been zero moon tourism dollars in real life, and this is 2022. And you're telling me in 86, moon tourism. Dude, you gotta be off your rocker if you think that's happening in the 80s. Whew.
私はNASA の高官とか名乗るおかしな男が現れた頃から、これは絶対におかしいと確信しておりました。
I was sure something was wrong ever since that strange man showed up claiming to be a high-ranking NASA
あれ
official.
はあの外国人が国際的な詐欺師だったに過ぎない。
That foreigner was nothing more than an international swindler.
あの件については私も曽根崎氏も被害者だ。
Both Mr. Sonozaki and I were victims in that case. Huh, it's a letter off. Wait, did the Sonozaki really fall for that?
彼の先見性は今をもって間違っていない。
Right now, his vision isn't mistaken. It's just off by 100 years, dude.
将来必ず世界の大富豪が宇宙旅行をたしなむ時代が訪れる。
Right now, in the future, there will surely come a time where the richest people in the world develop a liking for space travel. Yeah, but how many years are you gonna have to wait for that, Kraus?
そしてその最初の事業は民間一社によって独占されるだろう。
The very first enterprise in that area will probably be monopolized by a single private
着
company.
眼点は間違っていない。
The viewpoint's not
そ
mistaken.
れを利用して世界中の投資家を騙している国際的な詐欺集団がいて、
There were simply a group of international swindlers who were trying to take advantage of the fact and deceive investors across the
曽根
world.
崎という男もその一味だったと申し上げているのです。
And I'm telling you, this Sonozaki man was one of them.
あなたはどこまでお人よしなのですか。どうしていつもうさんくさい話を疑いもせずに乗ってしまうのですか。
Just how gullible are you? Why do you always accept these suspicious offers without any doubts? Oh man, it would be really rough for him if he ever got into NFTs and crypto. Damn. Every other crypto coin's a scam. And this man would be like, $1 million in this cryptocurrency? Sign me up. What do you mean it crashed? Oh, it was a pump and dump? No way. No way. The next one's gonna be legit. The next one.
訂正しろ。
Take it back.
曽根崎氏は優秀な未来ある男だ。
Mr. Sonozaki is a man with a brilliant future ahead
う
of him.
さんくさくなどない。
There's nothing suspicious about him.
彼の語る夢は未来を先取りしているからこそ、それが見えるものには妄想にしか見えんだけだ。
Because the dreams he speaks of anticipate the future. They sound crazy to people who can't see into the
女
future.
のお前には未来など見えん。
A woman like you can't see into the future.
ええ、女の私には未来など見えません。
Yes, a woman like me can't see into the future.
でも現在なら見えます。
But I can see the present.
私の目の前で狡猾な二枚舌の詐欺師たちに丸め込まれ、騙されてなお妄信している哀れな夫の姿なら
And right
見る
now,
ことが
in
できま
front
す。
of me, I see a pitiful husband who's been taken in by sly, double-crossing swindlers and still trusts them implicitly even after he's been tricked. Man, this guy wouldn't even be able to get through the Nigerian prince era. Oh, there's a Nigerian prince willing to give me billions of dollars if I just send him 50,000? Sounds like a deal. Oh, I'm out of yen. That's not good. Well, maybe I'll buy $5,000 in iTunes cards for him. Maybe that'll work. Goodness me, Chris.
黙れ。
Shut your mouth.
お前には金も事業も経済も何もわからん。
You don't understand anything about money, business, or
夫の
economics.
仕事に口は出すな。
Don't try to butt in on your husband's job. And this is where it's revealed Nazi has like a degree in business and is actually like really good at business. The point where she shits all over Kraus. Let's see it.
妻は家事だけをしてればいい。
A wife should be satisfied with doing housework. All
お
right.
前は黙っていろ。
Keep your mouth shut. Natsuhi keeping her mouth shut because she's trying to work with him, but holy shit. I'd like to hear that Natsuhi actually has a business degree from like Tokyo University. That would be really funny. Without another word, Natsuhi fell silent just as Kraus hoped she would. She was already far beyond anger and sadness, and in the emotion that lay on the other side of those was an almost indifferent pity. Pity because her husband is so unbelievably stupid? Oof. Kraus, who'd been in awe of Kinzo ever since he was very young, had started to subconsciously admire the way his father lived. Without realizing it, he came to believe the only way he could be recognized as a man in his own right was if he surpassed his father. However, Kinzo was a mad genius, the likes of which had never before been seen in the family's long history. That talent was a gift from heaven, and it definitely wasn't genetic, much less something that could be learned. To give the two of them a chance to talk alone, Natsuhi told the servants not to tell anyone about Kinzo's death, and they left the room for the time being. Then she invited Kraus to her bedroom and made him tell her everything about their current financial situation. That's awkward. She invited Kraus to her bedroom because they sleep in separate beds. Or they have separate rooms and sleep in separate beds. Ugh. Tell me everything about their current financial situation. These are things that Nazi hadn't been told about under the assumption that a woman had no business knowing. Natsuhi herself made a point of avoiding this area in the past, thinking it wasn't her life's place to intrude on such matters. However, this might also have meant she had abandoned her duty as a wife to protect her family. The depths of this sin had been made quite clear to Natsuhi. Kraus was probably tired of trying to defend himself. Perhaps because he had gotten a headache, he hid his face and sank into silence. Natsuhi noticed the water in the electric kettle was boiling and stood up to refill her cup with black tea. When she touched the cup, she noticed for the first time. The sound of the cup and saucer clinking together told her her fingers were shaking. How much... Kraus, they burned through all the money. Kraus had built up a large debt to obtain funds for his various projects and to cover the losses when they failed. Of course, he put the mansion and property up as collateral. However, doing such a thing above board would result in the mortgage being registered. In other words, there would be a record that Kraus had put Kinzo's wealth up as collateral to obtain a loan without anyone's permission. Kinzo, Ava, and the others must not learn of such a thing. Therefore, Kraus had been putting these assets up as collateral using the worst possible method.
権利書と委任状を預けた。
I signed over the deeds and power of attorney.
それは
What does that mean?
どういう意味ですか？
What Kraus was saying probably meant that he had in essence signed away the rights to his assets. If these assets were used as collateral for a loan, then Kraus would still have some leeway under the law. He would have to deal with a bank, and they would have absolutely no compassion, but they'd be able to work something out within the rules set by society. He did this with what? The Yakuza? However, signing away the deed and power of attorney was a whole different story. In other words, even the mansion they were living in, if the person holding the deed were to decide to ignore his agreement with Kraus and sell the mansion to a third party right this moment, they'd have no recourse whatsoever. Far from using collateral for a loan, this was basically the same as selling their house to borrow money.
つまり後宮家の生殺与奪は金貸したちの手に委ねられていたわけですね。
In other words, the moneylenders have the power to make or break the Ashiromiya family as they please.
彼らがほんのわずかの気まぐれを起こして
And if
突
they
然こ
sell
の
our
家
house
を売り
on a
払った
whim,
ら私たちは今すぐにも荷物をまとめ
we'd have to pack our bags and leave right now, wouldn't we? Okay, that's So he put the entire fortune on the line down to their house, an island. What a guy. This guy, he doesn't just spend their future, he spends their present. They're like fucking broke right now. Shit, man. Alright.
理屈上はそうだ。
Technically true.
取引の相手はいずれも社会的信用のある人物ばかりだ。
However, everyone I've had dealings with is reputable. Reputable.
サラ金じゃないぞ。
It's not consumer
経済人
financing.
同士の信用取引だ。
It's a transaction based on trust between economically literate men. No, it's a transaction based on trust between an economically literate man and an economically illiterate man named Kraus.
私も相手を信
I
用して
trust
いる。
them. Oh god. Natsuhi. I can see why Natsuhi's shaking. It's like, Kraus is like, I trust him. Natsuhi's hands begin shaking.
相手だって私に金を貸すことで私が大きな事業を成功させ、投資した額が大きくなって帰ってくることを信用している。
And I trust them, and they in turn trust that by lending me money, I will achieve great success in business and give them massive returns on their
委
investments.
任状を預けたのは私の誠意と事業の絶対の成功を疑わないからだ。
I signed over the power of attorney as a sign of good faith, and so they wouldn't have to doubt in the certain success of my business. What is Kraus planning on doing? He's planning on selling what? Tulips in Holland? Come on, what scam are you falling for, Kraus?
ここで渋ったらどうなる？
What happens if I hesitate now?
自分の事業に自分で自信が持てないことになるだ
Would
ろ
that mean I have no confidence in my own business? If you were such a successful businessman, we wouldn't have to be in debt now, would we? True. Natsuhi is thinking that, but she's not saying it. Nazi only barely stopped herself from saying that. Yep.
お父様は亡くなりました。
Father is
す
dead.
ると
And what
あな
now?
たの借金が白日のもととなり、他の兄弟たちに咎められることになるわけです。
Will your debt be exposed to the light of day, and will your siblings hold you responsible?
それだけでは済まない。
It won't be all.
刑事訴訟にも及ぶだろう。
It will probably lead to criminal charges.
刑事訴訟
Criminal charges?
どうしてです
Why
か
that? Probably because he didn't have the rights to sign away the land and the house, because the house is in Kinzo's name, right? He basically signed away power of attorney and a deed that he didn't have the right to.
君は知らない方がいい。
It's better if you don't know.
とにかく、
Anyway,
絶対にこのことを誰にも
this
知ら
must
れては
not be
なら
learned of by
ない。
anyone. I mean, that's probably what it is, right? He didn't have the rights to the property. Kraus looked at the floor shamefully, shaking his head over and over. If it would come to criminal charges, then he must have broken some laws. He's probably been so intent on raising money, nothing mattered to him but survival. Kraus had seriously believed he'd succeed with several businesses and that he would definitely gain huge profits. So he figured even if he stepped over a few legal lines, he'd be able to pay everything back before too long and pretend the whole thing had never happened. This may have been the factor that lessened his resistance towards breaking a couple laws, and now Kinzo's death, the worst possible thing, had occurred and they wouldn't be able to keep it hidden for long.
私たちはどうなるのですか
What will happen to us?
心配することはない。
There's no need to
君
worry.
は信じてくれんが、景気は今確実に上向いて
You
い
may
る。
not believe it, but the conditions are certainly on the rise now. Oh yeah,
私の
conditions.
都心で投資した不動産価値はみるみる上昇している。
The value of the city real estate I invested in will rise rapidly. Where is he investing in?
今それらを統合して巨大ビジネスタワーを建設する計画が
Right now, I'm
進んで
working
い
on
る
a project to integrate those and construct a massive business
これは
tower.
私のこれまでの投資の中で最も確実で
It'll be the
最も
most
大きな
reliable of my
成功をして
investments
いるものだ。
and prove to be the most successful. Checks when Tokyo Tower, or wait, hold up. $1957, that's a little bit too early. I don't know what tower he's building. I looked at Tokyo Tower and I'm like, well, I don't know what else he's building. But that was the first thing I could think of off the top of my head, and that was the 50s. Good luck, Kinzo. You're gonna need it. Right, he's positive that the massive business tower he's making is gonna be reliable. Well, it might be a skyscraper that holds office space, and you know what? Those are probably profitable. Especially in Tokyo. Unless he's building it in the middle of fucking nowhere. Time to find out.
ただ、それは身をつけるのにまだ時間をかけ
However, it
る
will。take more time for that to bear fruit.
絶対に確実だが、今すぐというわけではないのだ。
It's certain, but it doesn't mean it'll happen now. This is where it turns out it's happening in Hinamizawa or something. Like he's spent like $300 million on a skyscraper in Hinamizawa. Population 500 people. Like, it's gotta be something dumb, right?
その事業の成功は借金を返済するに足りるものですか
Will the success of that venture be enough to pay back our debts? Good question, Natsuhi.
もちろんだと思う。
Of course it will.
これまでの借金をすべて帳消しにできる。
I'll be able to wipe out all the debt I've
だ
accumulated
か
so
ら
far.
信じてくれ。
Have faith
もう
in me.
少しだけ時間が欲しいん
A
だ。
bit more time.
しかしお父様はもうお亡くなりになってしまいました。
This is where he reveals that it's built in. Wait, what district was what district did Chaos Child take place in? Was it Shinjuku? I don't remember. Wherever Chaos Child takes place in, that gets blown up. It happens there. They lose all their money because the building fucking explodes. Father's already dead.
もうその時間はないのです
I
よ。
don't have that time anymore. Is he dead though? Is he?
分かっている。
I know,
分かっているとも。
Hey, we haven't used this asset in a while. The last time we used this asset was when George Goda and Shannon were dying to the goats and the assorted demons.
だからどこかから金を調達して今すぐに借金を返さなくて
That's
は
why
ならない。
I think they used this asset there because the lockbox is there. Oh no, they were looking for the lockbox. They couldn't find it. They may not have used it for a while. I think they used it briefly though. That's why I have to obtain money from somewhere. Pay off those debts now.
とにかく金が必要なんだ。
Anyway, I need money. More money. More money.
金が大量に。
A lot of it
今
right
す
now.
ぐ。うわー
As Kraus roared and clutched his head, he writhed about as if in pain. She watched, several emotions swirling about Natsuhi's chest. Her emotions conflicted as she felt pity for her husband, while also feeling that he was a fool. She's like, I'm so sorry, but you're dumb. Ah, you're heading to bed, my friend? Good night. Imagine being this dumb. Come on, Kraus. She felt a mixture of resentment and regret towards her own irresponsibility in letting her husband run wild for so long. You know, someone needs to take the wallet away from this guy. And Natsuhi was definitely the person who could have done that. But this family is also super misogynistic, so that may not have worked. As much as she's like, man, I was a dumbass for letting this idiot ruin our family business. Our family and all its businesses, by fucking bankrupting us. On the other hand, he probably wouldn't have listened anyway and would have told you to fuck off, and you would have just felt powerless and regretful. Oh well. Even if this date hadn't come, it should have been clear they were in a very critical situation, and yet he had carelessly waited for this moment to come, and was now writhing about. Her husband was so foolish and so pitiful. It would be easy to let herself get fed up with this. However, she was his wife. For a wife, ridiculing her husband as a fool would run in conflict with her responsibilities. If he's a fool, she'd have to support him enough to compensate. Natsuhi being like, God damn, am I gonna have to carry this family on my back? I'll do it if I have to. Jesus Christ. However, she didn't have a clue what she should do, since there'd been such a massive amount of money within arm's reach. It was only natural Kraus had tried to dip his hands into it. It would have been easy to tell him to be a man and give up on all of it, but that would also run in conflict with her responsibilities. She was Ushiromiya Natsuhi, the woman who'd become Kraus's wife and sworn to support him, the new head of the family for her whole life. She had to somehow help her husband in his efforts to raise money. She understood it logically. She couldn't suppress the indescribable dejection that seemed to rise up from the darkest depths of her heart, though.
そうだ。親父の隠し黄金。
That's right, Father's hidden
10
gold.
トンの黄金なら200億の価値がある。
10 tons of gold is worth 20 billion yen.
俺さえあれば。
If I had that,
そうそう。俺さえ見
if I
つ
had
か
that,
れば
all our
万事は
problems would
解
be
決する。
solved. This man is desperate for cash.
あれだ。魔女の碑
Nothing,
文
that's
だ。
it. The witch's epitaph.
男、一緒に投稿。
Let's solve it. We'll solve it
黄
together.
金さえ見つかれば万事解決なんだ。
If we can just find the gold, everything will work itself out.
そうさ。この島のどこかに隠されてるは
It
ずな
must be
んだ。
hidden somewhere on this
あ
island.
れさえあれば。
If
あ
we
れ
had
さ
that.
え
If
あ
we
れ
had
ば。
that. Well, if you had that,
痛い
that hurts.
あなた
Dear?
やめてください
Kraus, acting as excited as if he thought up a perfect, brilliant plan, grasped Natsuhi's upper arms tightly. Natsuhi couldn't help but be dumbfounded. She wasn't just taken aback because she had heard him bring up something as fake-sounding as hidden gold. This is Kraus, who usually mocked the story of the hidden gold, saying it didn't exist and that it was all an illusion his father had created to borrow a lot of money. That was why Natsuhi was doubly taken aback.
そうだ。ジェシカにも協力してもらおう。
Yes, let's have Jessica to help us
子
too.
供の感性でなら解けることもあるかもしれない。
Maybe some things could be solved with a child's
今
sensitivity.
は一家の一大事なん
It's
だ。
a family crisis.
みんなで協力し合わなくてはならない。
All of us need to stick together.
そうだ。あんなの親父が作った気まぐれな
It's
謎
a
謎な
fanciful
んだ。
riddle. One father
解け
created.
るはずさ。解けないはずがないんだ。
We should be able to solve it. There's no reason we wouldn't be able to solve it.
それしかないんだ。
It's the only way.
ああ、夏日。
あ
本当
this is
によか
wonderful.
った。まだ手は残っていたんだよ。
We have an option
こ
left to us,
んな
and
に
it's right
身近
here.
に。
Really,
こ
Krause?
の島に黄金はある。
The gold's on the
そ
island.
れさえあれば万事解決なんだ。
If we had it, every single one of our problems would be solved. Ah, yes, magic gold. May as well ask for a fairy, a fairy, or a witch to solve your problems too, Krause.
夏日。
He's
ジェシ
desperate.
カを呼ぶんだ。今すぐここに。
But yeah, I like how we've gone in episode 1 from like Krause having the upper hand over everyone because he's a master manipulator, and we steadily learn that he's actually just awful at everything but bullshitting his way through stuff. And I guess he's good at intel gathering. And you know what? He did beat up that goat in boxing, so we'll give him that too. Yeah. He's got a lot of... He's basically awful at business. He should not be anywhere near the pen for signing business deals. Honestly, I think most of the people in this family are atrocious. Like, they have one or two positive traits that might help them. Their significant others, though, are better than them at business. And further, on top of that, they're all really bad and kind of at best have, like, one aspect of their grandfather. Like, I think Krause could be useful when negotiating. If he was working to negotiate a better deal for someone. I don't think he should be determining who he does business with or what he's negotiating for. And I think Ava could be really useful at getting deals or possibly figuring out what's good. I think you could probably use Rudolph to sweet talk people all over the place. And I don't know what the fuck Rose's talent is. But I assume she's like good at managing stuff or something. I don't fucking know. But I feel like if they all work together, they might have like most of the skills needed to not suck at business, but independently they're atrocious. Yeah, if this family got along for 5 seconds, they would be most of a person. They would be most of a competent business person. But it's like they're not even super expert at any of these. For the most part, they're just like average or above average at their roles to be a business person. It's kind of like Kinzo presumably is a business person as all of them combined. And they're individually like just really good at exactly one thing. And not even really good, just like average at it. Nazi called Jessica here right away. Oh boy.
の危機は家族で乗り越えよう。
Let's overcome this crisis together.
早く。
Yes, right now.
黄金はこの島にある。すぐ身近にあるんだ。
The gold is on this island, is right beside us.
ああ
Ah! He's getting bonked by Nazi for his bad idea. Unable to withstand the pain in the arm he was twisting in his excitement, Nazi knocked Krause aside. He tripped over the edge of the bed and flopped onto the floor.
いい加減にしてください。
Get a hold of yourself.
そしてどうか冷静になられてください。
And please calm down.
後宮
Jesus,
家の
dude.
一大事にそんな夢みたいなことを言い出してどうするというのですか。
You think the Zushirimiya family crisis could be solved by something as dreamlike as magic gold?
夏日。
あなたもよく頭を冷やされて現実的な金策をお考えになってください。
Please, cool your head and think of a realistic plan to gather money.
私も頭を冷やしてきます。
I'm gonna go cool my head as well.
待ってくれ。夏日。
Nazi. Maybe he'd come to his senses the instant he fell over. Krause tried to tell her to stop, but she kept walking. After closing the door forcefully, Natsuki dashed away. That's rough. So your father-in-law dies, and it turns out your husband spent all of your money and put you massively into debt, including putting your house up as collateral, and he's gonna lose all that. Oof. Natsuki ran through the corridor. Even though she didn't want anyone to see her like this, she ran headlong into Genji.
大変失礼いたしました。
My deepest apologies.
奥様、お怪我はございませんか。
Ma'am, have you been injured?
私は大丈夫です。
I'm fine.
放っておきなさい。
Leave me alone.
かしこまりました。
Certainly.
現地、
Genji.
お父様の書斎はどうなっていますか。
How are things going in Father's study?
そのままにしております。
It is just as you
南
left
條
it,
先生は客間におられますが、
although Dr. Nanjo is in the parlor.
そうですか。
Is that
書
so?
斎の鍵は持っていますか？
You have the key to the study?
はい、
Yes.
ございます。
Here,
お貸しなさい。
give it
し
to
ば
me.
らく私とお父様の二人きりにするよう
Let
に。
me have some time alone with Father.
もし主人に私のことを聞かれても知らないというのですよ。
If my husband asks where I am, tell him you don't know.
かしこまりました。
Certainly. Alright, Natsuhi, what are you planning on doing? What's Kinzo's disappearing act gonna be? After grabbing the key to the study that Genji was holding on out to her, Natsuhi rushed up the stairs. She then flew into the study, finally let out a wail and cried.
お父様、愚かな私たちをど
Forgive our foolishness.
うかお許しください。私と主人は
My husband and I,
お父様の築き上げてきたものを
we aren't capable of inheriting all you created. More like my husband and I, we're morons.
罪
Or
深く
he's a moron,
愚か
sorry.
な私たち
But
を
I think Kinzo already knew that Kraus was a Papega, so it's not really surprising to him. Please, please.
どうかお許しくださ
Forgive us for our foolishness and our
い。そ
crimes.
してもしお許しいただけるならば
If you can forgive
どう
us,
か愚かな私たちを
please
お導きください。
guide the way for us fools. Clinging to Kinzo as he slept in the bed, Natsuhi cried even harder. She kept imagining Kinzo sitting up suddenly and patting her head. No, Father isn't the type of person to pamper. More likely he'd yell at me to stop being so noisy. However, neither of these imaginations came true, because it was an undeniable fact Kinzo had entered an eternal sleep. Even so, Natsuhi begged the sleeping Kinzo to forgive and help them. Yeah, we now know for sure that the scene in episode 1 where Kinzo was nice to Hanatsuhi and said he was happy to have her in the family was pure copium. For sure, he was super dead. I mean, we knew that by the end of chapter 4, where Kinzo was revealed to have been dead the whole time, which is an unfortunate but acceptable theory that made that the case. This reinforces it extra hard, if it wasn't obvious to anyone who's still watching. It was only a few hours after his passing, perhaps his soul was still there listening to her, and believing this Natsuhi begged for Kinzo's forgiveness and help even more earnestly.
やかましいぞ。
Too noisy.
私は沈黙を尊ぶといつも言っている。
Haven't I always said I hold silence as a virtue? And is this where the influence of Lambdadelta strikes, or does she just get driven insane and then get killing? Go on a killing spree. The voice made Natsuhi jump in surprise. Kinzo's sitting there, ghostly. No, physically. When she faced the direction the voice came from, she saw Kinzo sitting at the study desk folding up his reading glasses.
またクラウスと喧嘩をしたの。
Did you get in a fight with Kraus again?
嫁をいたわらぬとはクラウスめ。私の悪いところばかりを受け継ぎ。
Neglecting his wife like that? That Kraus only inherited my bad traits. Might be true.
お父様、
なんというみそぼらしい顔か。
A wretched looking face.
顔を洗え。
Wash it.
仮にも後ろ宮家次期当主の妻ではないか。
Was she the wife of the successor of the Ashiramiya family? Things Kinzo would never say.
そんな
For
情けない面
$500?
を使用人に見せてはならぬぞ。
Or have we even seen Kinzo ever say a line since he was dead the whole time? You mustn't let the servants see you wear such a shameful expression. Yes, Father.
失礼しました。
My apologies. Natsuhi understood. This was just an illusion, one that Natsuhi had created out of her desire to speak with the memory of Kinzo as he once was. Or, wait, that wasn't it. She believed that just for now, Kinzo's soul had shown itself to her. She was sure that doubting this would cause it to vanish in an instant.
当主の座が継承されたと
It's
同
magic
時
if you
に
doubted
早
it ceased to
速
exist.
厄介事が起きたようだな。
It seems that the instant the family headship was passed on, the family reached a crisis. Surprising Kinzo not.
はい、お父様。
Yes,
夫
father.
本当に申し訳ありません。
I wasn't able to support my husband. I'm sorry. Very sorry. I'd find it hard to support Kraus too. He's pretty dumb. Oh, there's a scene in the beginning of 1 where Kraus is knocking on Kinzo's door and he says to Nanjo and Genji, "My father is dead. All that's here is a phantom of what father once was." It's funny once you know that it's literal. It is kind of amusing. Once you know that he's always been dead, when he says that line and you're like, oh, he's just pointing out that it's a waste of time because the man's dead.
つくづく後宮家は呪われている。
Yoshiromiya family is so very cursed. Wait, when did he actually die? As they said he was also unavailable the year before, right? Is this like 2 years before the guy's dead? Like before the events of the story? Holy shit. Yoshiromiya family is so very cursed.
私が当主を継承した時もそれはひどいも
It
の
was in
だ。
a terrible state when I succeeded the headship too.
お前たちの苦難などまだまだ可愛いもの
Your
だ。
suffering seem almost cute in comparison. Kinzo's succession to the family headship came suddenly. At the time, he'd been nothing more than a single young man from a branch family so far separated from the Ushirmiya family main tree. The main family might have had the honor and tradition, but Kinzo had nothing to do with that. And then the principal members of the main family were wiped out in the Great Kanto earthquake along with their businesses. They should have had insurance. On top of that, there had been a complicated antagonism between the members of the family at the time, and the elders all tried to impose their will on the others in that sinking ship. Because of this, they weren't even able to elect a leader to revive the family. They then found a common ground and selected Kinzo, a youth with no ties to any of the opposing elders, to be the head. But the elders hadn't really entrusted him with rebuilding the family. Kinzo had been nothing but their puppet with his arms and legs pulled in opposite directions.
はい。
Yes. And where are all those branch where is the main family now? Where are the branch families? Where is literally anyone other than the main Ushirimiya family?
お父様の苦難の日々は
Dead, I
よく
guess.
存じております。
I know a lot about your days of suffering, father.
そして戦争が始まった。
And then the war started.
当時の私はもう生きていくことに
At the time, I was already tired of
戦
life.
場で死ねればと願ったが前線には送られなか
I
った。
hoped that I would die on the battlefield, but I wasn't sent to the front
し
lines.
かし日に日に戦況が悪化し本土決戦の時が近づいてきていた。
However, the state of the war grew worse with each day, and the time for the decisive battle on the Japanese mainland seemed to grow ever closer.
私は不謹慎にもその日が早くやってくる
As
ことを
terrible
願
as
っ
it may
ていた。
sound, I prayed for the day to come quickly. After listening to the approaching footsteps of the Reaper day in, day out, was he grateful or disappointed when 2 cities got leveled and that was it? It said Kinzo started cutting his ties with this world one by one. And then on the day when he severed all regrets and achieved a state of enlightenment, it said he had a mystical experience. An Italian witch named Beatrice, it said he met her. The Golden Witch Beatrice.
私は魔女と契約を交わし
I made a contract
人
with
間
the
と
witch
狂気の力を与えられた。
and was given the power of gold and
その
madness.
日を境に古き私は死に狂気の魔力を得た
On that
新
day,
しき私
the
が
old me
誕
died,
生し
and a
た
new me possessing the insane power of magic was born.
存じております。
I know.
そして戦後、
You met an Italian during World War II, right? Right? Some random Italian lady. Seems likely. And after the war,
お父様は天才的辣腕にて後ろ宮家を復興させるのです。
quote unquote ingenious cutting to revive the Ushirimiya family. Alright. The now deceased elders who knew Kinzo at the time had whispered to each other that Kinzo must have bumped his head on the battlefield and returned with a different personality. That was how much Kinzo had stood out after the war. Whether the story about Kinzo meeting a witch was true or not, there could be no doubt the extraordinary experience of war had prepared him for death and let him reach a state of enlightenment. If he wanted to describe the experience following all that that is, meeting with a witch. That claim certainly shouldn't be dismissed out of hand.
そうですね。お父様は戦争からお帰りになり
Returned from the
魔
war.
女ベアトリーチェを従え、真の意味での後宮家当主となられたのです。
Conquered the witch Beatrice and became the head of the Ushiromiya family in the truest sense.
そうだ。
Right.
ベアトリーチェに出会う以前の私は当主と呼ばれるだけの人
Before
形に
Beatrice, I was nothing more than a puppet, only the head and
私
name.
は黄金の魔女を従えて初めて当
And I
主
only
と
became-
なり得たのだ。
I only became the head ever conquering the Golden Witch.
お父様、
Father. You think Kinzo had his cousins murdered or dealt with in other ways after he became the head? Yeah, Kinzo's kind of crazy. He'd certainly do that. His requirements for headship seem pretty absurd, too.
黄金の魔女は新しき当主である夫クラウスには力を貸してくださらないのでしょうか。
Aid my husband Kraus now that he's the new head?
貸すであろうな。
Oh, she will.
真に当主を継承したならば。
Assuming he's truly succeeded the headship.
真に継承するとは
What do you mean truly
どういう
succeeded?
意味ですか。
真の意味で後宮家の当主としての責任と誇りを持て
I
る
mean,
か
it
どう
depends
か
on whether
と
he
いう
bears
こ
the
とだ。
responsibility and pride of the family head in the truest sense.
夏日、お前ならば分かっているはず。
Natsuhi, you should understand
当
this.
主とは血で継承されるものではない。
Headship is not inherited by blood.
魂と信念によって
It's
継承
inherited
さ
through
れる。
spirit and conviction. Fake Kinzo
クラウ
says.
スが我が長男であっても、それがなくては真の当主とは呼べない。
Even though Kraus is my oldest son, he can't be called the true head if he doesn't possess these things.
そしてそれが心に宿されていたなら、その人間はたとえクラウスでなくとも立
If that
派な
spirit were
新
to
しき
say-
当主である。
Dwell in a human, even someone other than Kraus, they would make a splendid new
黄
head.
金の魔女ベアトリーチェはその真の当主に力を貸すであろう。
Beatrice would lend her power to that true head. The true head of the family.
そうであるな、ベアトリーチェ。
Isn't that right? Beatrice! Golden butterflies abound. Swirl of gold and poof, Beatrice. When Kinzo called the witch's name, gold butterflies seethed out of every corner of the room. The fantastical scene had an otherworldly beauty to it. It was like standing in the midst of a blizzard of golden flower petals being blown about the rose garden of gold. As Natsuhi stared at the scene in shock, the gold butterflies gathered and formed a human shape. Out of pure copium, Beatrice arises. Then the witch of the portrait appeared.
いかにも
Indeed.
わらわこそが後宮家顧問錬金術師
I am the
黄金の
Ushiromiya
魔
family
女
alchemist.
ベアトリーチェである。
The Golden Witch, Beatrice!
わらわは奔放にして自由。
And I'm free to run rampant.
誰の命令も
I'll
聞
listen
か
to
な
no
い。
one's orders.
それを世界でたった一人、
And there's only one person in the world who can control her.
私だけが支配した。
Me.
だからこそ後宮家の当主たり
And that's why I'm qualified to be the Ushiromiya family head. Does this mean Kinzo did all the
そ
killing?
の傲慢さこそが
So
後
is that
宮
pride
家
of
当
yours?
主の
Is
資
that
格
what
だという。
qualifies you?
傲慢とはすなわち自信であり勇気である。
Well, pride requires self-confidence and
そ
bravery.
してそれに見合う力を得ようとする悪なき向上心の表れだからこそ私はお前を支配した。
It's the embodiment of the insatiable desire to gain power to match those traits, and that's why I control you.
傲慢を語る男がそれを実現していく様を見るのは心地よいものだ。
Watching men who speak of pride turn those desires into reality can be quite pleasant. This is Natsuhi's impression of Beatrice, by the way, so it's going to be very
不
unusual. I
言
think.
実行は強運なるものの言い訳に過ぎぬ。
The quiet man of action is nothing more than an excuse used by the extremely lucky.
真の王者は持たぬものさえも語る。
A true monarch speaks of what he
そ
does
して
have.
その傲慢を確かに実
Then he
現し
makes
て
that
みせるのだ
pride a reality without fail.
わらわを支配できる者にはその王者の傲慢が必要だ。
If one is to control me, they must possess such a monarch's pride.
わかるか、夏日よ。
Do you understand, Natsuhi?
真の王者はあらゆる苦難を
A true
恐れ
monarch
る。
fears no hardship. We're gonna become a Lord of the Dark. I think that was the Dark Souls 2 ending, right? The dark ending.
必ず乗り越えられると公言する。
They declare they'll overcome anything without
そ
fail,
の算段がなくと
even if they haven't figured out how
だ
yet.
から弱者は希
This gives hope to the
望を
weak.
集い、あがめ、
They
協
gather.
力を誓う。
Revere the monarch and swear to
そ
assist
こ
him.
に力が生まれ、有言は
This
実行され
It's
る
where
のだ。
power is gained and his word is carried out.
それを心に刻
Engrave it
め。
into your heart.
はい、お父様。
Yes, father. Natsuhi understood. Through this mystical experience, Kinzo was telling her how to prepare herself to overcome hardship, even after his own death. Feeling a warm sensation rise in her chest, she let the valuable words Kinzo gave her echo through her mind over and over. A true monarch, in other words, the true head of the family must not fear hardship. Such a person must believe they can overcome any hardship, and if they can't even believe it about themselves, they'll have no chance of overcoming their challenges. She suddenly felt very ashamed of the way she'd entered this room, sobbing and asking Kinzo what to do.
私は
I was foolish.
愚かでした。後宮家の一大事に、そしてお父様から後宮家を引き継いだ以上、
There's no time for
私たちは
crying.
何があってもその名誉を守り抜きます。
Still going. Of course, there's no time for crying when an Ushiromiya family crisis is upon us. And now that we have inherited the Ushiromiya family from you, father, we must protect its honor no matter what.
ほう、どうやってクラウスの借金を返済するか、その青写真も描けぬのにか。
Even though you can't draw a blueprint on how to repay Krause's debts. That would seem to be the case. Beatrice laughed unpleasantly, or no, that wasn't it. She was testing Natsuhi to see whether she possessed the mental readiness to be a true monarch. Natsuhi wasn't confused anymore. She answered clearly, gazing into Beatrice's eyes.
はい。
Yes.
今はどうすればいいのか、その方法をまだ見つけることはできません。
At this moment, I have not yet discovered the method we should
しかし
pursue.
私の夫は新しき後宮家の当主であり、
However,
私
I
は
am
それを支える妻です。
my husband is the new head of the Ushiromiya family, and I'm his supporting
です
wife.
から夫に代わり
I will proclaim it in my father's or husband's place.
聞こ
Let's hear it.
う。後宮クラウスと夏日は必ずやこの苦難を乗り越え、後宮家の名誉を守ってみせます。
Ushiromiya Krause and Natsuhi will certainly overcome these trials and protect the honor of the Ushiromiya family. Things Krause would never say for
お
500.
父様にご心配をおかけすることはありません。
You have nothing to worry about, father.
クラウスの借金の規模と惨憺たる状況については知って
You
お
know
る
the scope of Krause's debt as well as the horrible state things are in?
はい。この屋敷さえも明日には立ち退けと命じられても拒めぬという最悪の状況です。
The worst happens and we are ordered to leave the mansion tomorrow. We won't be able to
遺産
refuse.
分配となれば親族たちに刑事告発さえされるかもしれません。
During the distribution of the inheritance, the relatives might even file a criminal complaint.
しかし心配には及びません。
There's no need to worry.
そうなる前に借金をすべて返済し名誉を取り戻します。
All of the debts before them and then restore our honor. As she stood at attention with a resolute attitude, Natsuhi proclaimed this clearly with Ushiromiya Kinzo and Beatrice as witnesses. For a while they remained silent as though weighing Natsuhi's resolve, then Kinzo chuckled and turned away.
よし、
How vexing.
なぜにこやつが我が息子ではなかったのか。
Couldn't this person have been my son? And now we know that's just Natsuhi's impression, wishes of Kinzo? I don't know.
その資質を持つ女を息子がめとったことさえ、これもまたそなたの強運よ。
The very fact that a woman with such a disposition married your son is another sign of your great luck.
ベアトリーチ、
Beatrice.
私の最後の命令だ。
This is my final order.
当主でないそなたの命令をもはや聞く義理はないぞ。
Oh, now that you're no longer the head, I'm not obligated to obey any of your orders.
ほう、ならば 新しき後ろ宮家当主の命令に従
In that case, obey the orders of the new Ashirmiya family head.
そなたはすでに当主でなく、クラウスは未だ当主ではない。
You are no longer the head, and Kraus is
わ
not
ら
yet
わ
the
は
head.
誰に仕えよというの
Who do you suggest I serve?
お前にそれを委ねる。
I leave that to
後ろ
you.
宮家の当主を受け継ぐ資格があるかどうか、そして片翼のわしの紋章を背負うにふさわしいかどうか。
It's up to you to decide who's qualified to succeed the Ushirmiya family head and who's fitting to bear the mark of the one-winged
お
eagle.
前が確かめるのだ。
You will ensure that it is so.
断るぞ。
I
当主
refuse.
でなき男の命令など聞けぬわ。
I won't listen to the orders of a man who isn't the head. So, I think this will result in Natsuhi's conviction for whatever she's going to be doing during the main arc.
いや違うぞ。
No, this is
こ
different.
れは遺言である。
This is the will.
当主が残したお前への最後の命令である。
The last order the head left behind for you. Alright.
ならば従わぬわけにはいかぬか。
And it seems I'll have to
わ
obey.
らわもつくづく付き合いがよい。
After all, I can be quite accommodating.
違うな。
Fire.
ほう
Beatrice accommodating? Nah, she's a bit of a bitch.
興味を持ったからであろうが。
You're only doing this because it caught your interest, aren't you?
つくづく。そなたには隠
I
し
can't
事が
hide
でき
anything
ん
from you,
な。
can I?
夏日、
Natsuhi.
はい、お父様。
Father.
乗り越えてみよう。この苦難を。
Overcome your hardship. Yes.
はい。
That might have seemed like a mere response to Natsuhi, but to Kinzo and Beatrice it seemed to be something of much greater significance. Beatrice nodded deeply, and with the motion as elegant as her dress, she bowed deeply before Natsuhi.
後ろ宮家顧問錬金術師黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェここに
You shear my family alchemist, Golden Witch Beatrice is
後ろ
present.
宮家の苦難を再び乗り越えるためそなたの力となろうぞ
I'll give you my aid to assist the family in overcoming yet another crisis.
ありがとう
Thank you.
あなたの力が必要です
I will surely need your
私
power.
たちは必ずこの苦難を
We
乗り
will
越えま
certainly
す
overcome these trials.
そのために助力は惜しまぬが先に断らねばならぬ
I will not hold back on my support for your cause, but there is something I must warn you about
か
beforehand.
つて金蔵の窮地を救ったようにそなたに再び莫大な黄金を与えれば
I
この度
understand
の
your
苦難は
troubles
解
now.
決することは分かっている
I understand now. Your troubles could be solved if I were to grant you a vast quantity of gold like I did when I saved Kinzo from his crisis. Nazi's Beatrice is so much more elegant than full meta Beato. Yeah, she's elegant and almost nice
しかし
so far.
それはできぬのだ
However, that's something I can't do. Namely because you only know what Natsuhi knows.
そうですか
Is that so?
すまんな、夏日。
Sorry,
ベ
Natsuhi.
アトリーチェの黄金は私一代限りという契約なのだ。
Beatrice's gold came from a contract limited to my
そ
generation.
してそれを受け継ぐためには魔女の碑文を解かねばならぬのが取り
It was
決め。
agreed it could only be passed on to another if that person solves the witch's epitaph.
黄金は碑文にて封じられている
Gold is sealed by the
だ
epitaph.
からそれを解けぬ限りそなたに黄金の魔法は与えられぬ
As long as that's not solved, you can't be given the golden magic. I'm just imagining it. They're like, it's golden magics. And she just snaps her fingers and gold rains from the sky.
わかりました
I understand.
ならば他の方法でこの窮地を脱する方法を模索しましょう
Then I shall search for another method by which we can save ourselves from this crisis.
主人は時間をかけるとは言っていますが必ず借金は返済できると言っています
My husband said his plan would take time, but he also said it would surely be sufficient to repair debts. Is he planning on waiting for the house, the retail value to go up and then selling it? He's got to be planning on getting his money back all in one
そ
fell
のための
swoop,
時
right?
間を得ることができればこの苦難は乗り越えられます
We can buy enough time for that to happen. We'll surely be able to overcome this trial.
良いぞ、夏日。
Good,
続
Natsuhi.
け。
Continue.
しかし金蔵はもう死んでいるぞ。
But Kinzo's already
医者と
dead.
使用人は葬儀の準
The
備。
doctor and servants are preparing his
そなた
funeral.
は親族たちにその連絡だ。
You were about to contact the family
そ
members?
なたは自らその金策の猶予時間を終わらせる宣言をするこ
By
と
your
に
own hand, you'll bring about an end to this ploy for time.
自ら刃を下ろす断頭台も愉快なものよ。
Charming is the guillotine where you lower the blade yourself. You probably shouldn't make any phone calls. Startled, Natsuhi looked up at the ceiling. There wasn't actually anything there, but even so, Natsuhi had found something.
降りたか魔力が
Ah, so the magical power has descended.
夏日決
Natsuhi,
まったか。
made up your mind? Yeah, Beatrice, who's Shannon's friend, was nice in the backstory, although once the murders happened, oops, it's evil time. Well, if Beatrice is not real and all of it's fictitious, then it kind of makes sense, right? Beatrice is whatever people think she is.
わらわに
They
望む
project
奇
her
跡
onto
の
other
魔
stuff.
法が。
What magic of miracles do you desire from me, Nazi? The power to kill. Without remorse, that is. We don't need superhuman strength. Once again, all those who'd witnessed Kinzo's corpse were gathered in the study. Kraus was impatient and clutching his head. Genji was expressionless as ever, and Nanjo and Kumasawa wore bewildered expressions on their faces. But in stark contrast to all of them, Natsuhi wore a resolute
あ
expression.
なたにもう一度お尋ねします。
Here, let me ask you one more time.
金策は間違いないのですね。
Your plan for raising money? Is it certain?
ああ
Yes.
1年いや
Give it a year. No.
せめて半年あれば
Half
必
a
ず見
year.
れる計画なんだ
Will certainly bear fruit.
しかし今すぐにはどうしても無
But
理
it's
なんだ
impossible to hope for anything now. Real estate doesn't usually pay huge dividends in a year. Good luck.
ならば、それを待ちましょう。
And we wait. Unless it's a building construction project, then maybe it'll be okay.
しかし
You said
親
yourself.
父はも
Father's
う
already
死んで
dead.
しまった
お父様はお亡くなりになどなっていませんよ。
Father is not
ま
passed
だ
away.
こうしてご健在であられます。
He's there, as healthy as ever. When Natsuhi said this, everyone jumped and looked up, because they instantly understood what those words meant. However, Kraus alone didn't get it right away and asked her,
それは
What
どういう意味だね
do you mean by that?
親父はもう
Father's already...
現にそこに
Reality, he's right there.
繰り返します。
I will say it again.
お父様は未だにご健在であられます。
Father is still in
ご
good
自身
health.
の研究がお忙しいので、これまで以上に書斎を出ることはできません
He's。busy with his research. He'll be even less able to leave his study than
ですから
usual.
私たちは、お父様が研究に専念できるように、外務をすべて取り行い、
Because of this, we must handle all external affairs ourselves.
お父様に不要なお仕事が及ばないようにしなくてはなりません。
The father can devote himself to his research without being burdened by meaningless tasks. Japan's property bubble starts in 1986 and lasts until 1991. Kraus will make tons of money if they didn't die. Irony, he's early again. Isn't he early again? I'm not sure what year this is, but they complained about not being able to see him 2 years in a row. So is this 2 years early? Oof. Because, I mean, you want to... Here's the thing about property bubbles, right? In theory, you want to get out right before it pops. So you'd want to get it at like 1990, 1991. For real estate. Making money on real estate. Now, presumably he's going to have to cash out in like 1987. So he's not, dead to the mob or whatever, but... So he's probably not going to make bajillions of money. But it will go well for him, sounds like. As usual, they just have to, not die in 1986, which is a tough one. It's a tall order. Alright, father needs to be able to devote himself to his research without being burdened by meaningless tasks, so we'll handle everything ourselves.
つまりそれは、これまでと何ら変わらないということ。
In short, nothing will change from the way things have
理
been.
解できていますね。
Do you understand, Genji?
はい片翼のわしの家具は これからも親方様にお仕えいたします。
Furniture of the one-winged eagle will continue serving the master.
熊沢、そして
Kumasawa.
南條先生、
And you,
私の
Nanjo?
話は理
You
解でき
understand
ま
what I'm
した
saying?
ね。
それでいいのかね、夏
Is
日
that
さん。
really alright? Natsuhi-san? How is Nanjo even questioning this?
お父様は確かに今日お亡くなりになったかもしれません。
It may be true father passed away today.
しかし、今この場にいる私たち全員が信じることで、お
But
父
if
様を
everyone,
蘇らせる魔
right
法を
now,
使うことが
right
できま
here,
す。
believes we can revive father with magic.
無理ですよ、奥様。
It's impossible, ma'am.
そんな、
It's
い
too
く
much.
らなんでも。
解剖すれば死亡時期を特定される。
The time of death will be made clear during the
不
autopsy.
審がられることは避けられん。
We can't stop it from looking suspicious.
お父様はお亡くなりにならないのですから、解剖などされる言われはありませんよ。
There'll be no need for an autopsy. Of course, she wasn't planning to make it seem like Kinzo would live forever. The fake life given to Kinzo would only last until Kraus could repay his debts. After that, Kinzo's soul would finally be able to rest in peace. Nanjo repeatedly said that the time of death would be discovered during the autopsy, but Natsuhi kept saying this wouldn't be a problem.
お父様は死亡届によってお亡くなりになるのではありません。
He will not pass away by being reported dead.
そうか。
Wait a minute, that's illegal! I mean, this was illegal in the first place, but let's not worry about that too much.
失踪届か。
I see, he'll be reported missing. After clapping his hands together, Kraus stood up, shaking his fist.
そうです。
Yes.
借金が無事に返済でき、お父様にお休みいただける準備が整ったなら、その時に
Once
お
we've
父様の失踪を宣言します。
managed to pay back the debt and finish our preparations for laying father to rest, we'll announce father's disappeared. Rockenjima's vast, uncultivated forest was the perfect place to stage a disappearance. One day, Kinzo would go out into the forest for a walk and never return. They would search for him without success and be forced
失踪なら死体がなくても死亡届を出せ
to
る。
report his disappearance. If he disappears, we can file a report of his death even without a corpse.
つまり死亡時期を隠せるということだ。
In other words, we can hide him long enough to have him declared legally dead.
どうだ、南條先生。
What do you think,
これなら
Nanjo?
何の問題もない。
There won't be any problems this way?
確かに
Might
そういうことにはなりますが。
それで良いのですか、奥様。
Is this really okay, man?
確かに私たちが黙っていれば、親方様がお亡くなりになられたのは
If we stay
秘密に
silent,
できる
I'm
かもしれ
sure
ませ
we
ん。
could keep the master's death a
で
secret.
すが、どこでどう間違って
But if
誰
we
かに
slip
知
up
られ
even
ない
once
と
and let
も。
someone find out?
熊沢、声が
Kumasawa,
大きいです。
don't be so loud.
お父様はあちらでお休み中なのですよ。
Oh, they're sleeping right over
起
there,
こして
correct?
しまわれるつもりですか？
You trying to wake him up? It isn't a corpse. Kinzo is sleeping, and as Natsuhi said that, Kinzo lay quietly on the bed as though there was nothing at all odd about her words. She copes as hard as she can. She copes someone into existence.
さあさあ思い出してごらんなさい。
Come, try to
そな
remember.
たがどんな
What
姿を
form
し
did
て
you
いた
have?
の？そなたがどんな日々を謳歌していたの
What？ sort of life did you enjoy? And with that, Kinzo is reborn. Once again, a storm of gold butterflies start to swirl, covering Kinzo's cold body. And then, after the butterflies exploded into fine gold powder and disappeared, just like those fairy tales that have been told over and over since long ago, Kinzo slowly opened his eyes and sat up.
お父様。
Father.
夏日。
Natsuhi.
先に我が名誉のために断っておくぞ。
Let me make one thing clear.
私は生への執着からそなたにこれをそそのかしたのではない。
I did not coax you into doing this because of my attachment to life.
嘘つきめ。
Liar.
多少は予見していたであろうが、
Don't tell me you didn't anticipate this at least a
ど
little.
うだ金蔵
How's it feel, Kinzo?
体の方は
How's your body? The sibling
悪くは
suspicions.
ないが、どこか夢の中のような感じだ。
No. Bad, but it feels somewhat like being in a dream. The sibling suspicions also give us the motive for Eva doing that receipt trap in episode 1. Yeah, they're suspicious that he's been dead for over a year. Yeah. So she lays the trap when she goes into the office to see if anyone leaves. Or who else comes through there. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Not bad, but it feels somewhat like being in a dream. I feel light.
この世にとどまることを許されぬ存在が未だとどまっているのだ
You're a being that wasn't permitted to remain in this world, yet here you
多
remain.
少の不自由は諦めよ
Don't complain about a little discomfort now.
お体は本当に大丈夫なのですか
Is your body truly
本
alright?
当に
Is it really
大丈夫
okay?
なのですか
むしろ心地よい。
Feels quite
こ
pleasant.
れが死後の世界の感覚ならば、幽霊気取りも捨てたものではないぞ。
If this is what the world after death feels like, playing the ghost may not be half bad.
これに
Zombie
てどうか
Kinzo.
夏
How's
金
this
蔵は
Nazi?
よみがえった
Kinzo
故に
revived.
葬儀は不要
A funeral is unnecessary, thanks,
そ
Beato.
なたの苦難はこれにて解決だ
Your hardship's been resolved by the endless witch.
ベアトリーチェ
Beatrice. As Natsuhi tried to find words of gratitude amidst her confusion, Beatrice waggled her pointer finger and spoke.
感謝の言葉はいらぬぞ
No need for
支配
thanks.
者は傲慢であればよい
A ruler is allowed to be
わら
proud.
わは頼みは聞かぬが命令には従うのでな
I won't pay heed to requests, but I will follow orders.
それでも言います
Even so, I'll
あ
say
りがとう
thank
こ
you.
れで主人のために時間が稼げます
This way you've bought some time for my husband.
あとは私たちの仕事です
We'll handle the rest.
しかし夏日心せよ
Be warned, Natsuhi.
確かに金蔵はよみがえったがそれは永遠ではない
Ah, the quote from the vase. Ruth Virgilia. Be warned, Nazi. Kinzo may have revived, but it's not an eternal
我
thing.
が魔力が続く限りである
It only continues as long as my magic
半魔
does.
法の毒素により魔法は破られてしまうかもしれぬことを心せよ
Be warned, the magic resisting toxin that might destroy this magic.
魔法の断りを正しく理解しその維持に努めよ
Understand the laws of magic correctly and work hard to maintain
わ
them.
らわはそなたに奇跡を見せるがそれをつかみとど
I
め
can
る
show
の
you a miracle, but it is your
Sonata
role
no
to grasp
yakumi.
and hold it.
無論です
Of
あ
course.
なたにもらったこの奇跡を私たちは決しておろそか
We
に
won't
しません
neglect the miracle you've given us.
それでよいなるほ
fair
ど
enough.
な主と畳は新しい方がいいというのは本当らしい
It appears masters need to be changed out every once in a while, just like floor mats. Magic, the power of copium and gaslighting. And true magic, Amakusa's gun. You mean true magic, true magic is Akasaka. And Rika, apparently. Although maybe Rika's just coping as hard as humanly possible when she inevitably loses someone. Oh,
気に入った
I like it.
わら
I
わは
like
そなたに使えようぞ
I'll serve
後
you.
ろ宮夏日
Ushiromiya Natsu.
我こそは後ろ宮家古文錬金術師
Yes, the
黄
real
金の
magic
魔
though
女
is
ベア
Gunfu.
トリーチェ
Mock says Gunfu worked wonderfully. Actually, it's not Gunfu, it's just regular shooting, but you know, it'd be nice if it was Gunfu. We don't have enough Gunfu these days. One can only go back to equilibrium so many times and it's getting dated. Alright, I like it. I'll serve you, Ushiromiya Natsuhi. I am the Ushiromiya alchemist, the Golden Witch
いつで
Beatrice.
も我が名を呼ぶがいいさすれば現れ
It wasn't on
わ
screen,
ら
it
わ
could
は
have
そな
been
たに奇
Gunfu.
跡を授けるで
With
あ
the
る
power of magic, it can be. Call my name whenever you wish. I'll appear and grant you a miracle. Yeah, with the power of copium, instead of sitting still and
Arigato.
pointing his gun, he's dancing. He's dancing at the tree line casually flicking his gun to headshot people. Thank you.
私は後宮夏日。
I'm Ushiromia
あなた
Natsu.
を刺激し、後宮家の名誉を守ります。
I'll employ you and protect the honor of the Ushiromia family. I just noticed the gold in the back of the symbol is actually the one-winged eagle and not like a golden trail from the freaking magic arrows. Family conference previous year, October 5th, 1985. Called it. It's been more than a year. All right. So the man's going to be dead for like a full year and a half before he's revealed as dead. The Rose Garden was truly splendid this year. It is really splendid. In fact, they gave us completely new art, although it looks somewhat similar to the yellow flowers in the garden. Just gonna point that out. This picture seems very similar to the one with the yellow flowers. I'd like a side-by-side comparison, but I don't know if we can do that. The roses were blooming like crazy, as if competing with each other. In that rose garden, Kinzo, Kanon, and Natsuhi could be seen. Kinzo could be seen?
今年も良い花をつけたな。
Once again, the flowers have grown wonderfully this year.
お前の手入れの賜物か。
It must be a result of your care.
ありがとうございます。今年は気候が良かったもので。
The weather just happened to be good this year.
普段にも増して庭園が美しく保たれていますね。
Thanks to your care, the garden is even more beautiful than
見
usual.
事です。
Good work.
ありがとうございます
Thank you very much.
今日という日でさえなか
Today
っ
weren't
た
so
が
special.
バラをめでながら紅茶を楽しむこともできただろ
You might have
う。
been able to admire the roses while enjoying some tea. Kinzo shrugged. Today was the family conference. When it came to the other siblings' businesses, none of the news had been good. On the contrary, those siblings probably planned to turn the conversation onto the topic of Kinzo's remaining life and hold a quiet feud over the inheritance.
不愉快な奴らだ。
Those people are quite
時
unpleasant.
にクラウスの方はどうなのか。
By the way, what about
例
Chris?
の借金返済の計画は無事に進んでい
Is
る
that
の
debt
か。
repayment plan of his proceeding well?
確かに現実性のある計画のようです。
Seems to be a realistic plan. Holy shit, Kraus is not losing money? He has a
ただ
plan?
計画の規模がだいぶ大きいようで、なかなか思い通りに結実しないようです。
However, it's a plan on quite a large scale and doesn't seem to be bearing fruit quite as well as he expected.
可能ならば今日の親族会議を迎える前に
If possible, I would have
何
hoped
と
to
か
have
したものだな。
resolved that before today's family conference.
はい。
Yeah.
申し訳ございません。
My apologies.
良いのか、金蔵。
You sure you're okay,
そん
Kinzo?
なところをのんびり散歩しておって。
Casually walking about a place like that when you're already dead? Yeah. Hello, Beato. How had she gotten up there? Well, it's fairly pointless to wonder about that sort of thing when you're dealing with a witch. Beatrice was casually sitting on the roof of the arbor, almost as though she'd been basking in the sun.
半魔法の毒素の塊である親族どもが押しかけてくるのだぞ。
Those relatives are like a massive lump of the magic-resisting toxin. They'll be intruding on us. So are we gonna go through last year's family conference as well, or are we gonna skip to the current year or something? Because I'm not sure we really need to go through last year's family conference. I feel like making it clear that the timeline for Kinzo's death is all we needed to do. We don't need to do this conference, I don't think.
立ち合わせになったら、そなたの魂など一瞬で蒸発してしまうぞ。
If you bump into them, your soul will evaporate in an instant.
すでに死んだ身だ。蒸
I'm already
発
dead.
もまた小気味が良いという。
Evaporating would be no detriment.
そういうわけには参りません。
Can't have that happen. Throw Kinzo's body off of wherever it was that Beatrice's body fell.
どうか後宮家のためにもうしばらくお力をお貸しください。
Please, for the sake of Ashirmia family, lend us your strength a little longer.
夏日、親族どもの乗った船がこちらへ向かったようだぞ。
Seems the boat carrying the relatives left the
そ
harbor.
ろそろ散歩は終わりにした方がよかろうな。
Perhaps it's about time to bring an end to this walk of yours.
そうですか。
Is
ありが
that so?
とう。
Thank you.
お父様は書斎へお戻りください。
Please return to the study, father.
やれやれ。
My
こ
my.
の絶好の日和なのにな。
Go back inside when the weather is this perfect. Ah,
ぐちるな金蔵。
don't grumble,
今のそ
Kinzo.
なたはわらわに生かされているだけの幽霊であろうが。
Right now, you're a little more than a ghost I gave life to. So much for the endless witch's power.
そなたに毒素で消し飛ばれてはわらわも夏日も困るのでな。
It'd be troublesome for both me and Nazi if you're scattered away by
お
the
とな
toxin.
しく書斎へ閉じこもり、布団でもかぶっておれ。
Be a good boy. Shut yourself away in the study and wrap a blanket around yourself or something.
死してなおバラをめでる機会を与えられただけでも。
So does this mean Jessica also didn't see Kinzo in like a year and a half? That's kind of crazy. Merely receiving the chance to enjoy these roses after death makes me an extremely fortunate man.
わかった。
Yes, Kinzo in a blanket roll. You can now imagine Kinzo rolling himself up and sitting on a sofa by the fireplace to warm himself up.
書斎へ戻ろ
I shall return to the study.
う。だが紅茶はもらい
I would like some black tea.
源氏に紅茶を届けるように
Canon, tell Genji to bring me
今
some.
日はマルコ・ポーロでももらおう。
Perhaps so. Marco Polo would do well today.
かしこまりました。
Certainly.
では解散しよ
Let us go our separate
う。
ways.
夏日
Natsuhi.
私抜きで見事親族会議をこなしてみせよ。
You must conduct the family conference splendidly in my absence. Good luck, Natsuhi.
もちろんです、お父様。
Of course,
彼ら
father.
の前で名乗ることはできませんが、主人はすでに後ろ宮家当主。
Can't say it in front of them, but my husband is already the Ushirmiya family head.
私もその妻として恥ずかしくないよう微力を尽くします。
I'll do all I can to ensure I don't embarrass him as his wife.
朝から胃痛を起こしているクラウスに比べ、
You could see Jessica being in on it, but it's not hard to confirm she lives here. Yeah, she does live here, which is unusual, right? She absolutely lives here. So it seems unusual, like, not seeing one of your housemates for a year and a half? Yeah, they're probably dead. So she might be in on it. Doesn't matter if it's confirmed or not, though. I mean, the other servants might also be in on all the servants might be in on it. Like, is Goda in on it? Who knows? Goda seems very unaware, so he may not be aware. He may not be aware, because I don't remember when Natsuhi hired him. I thought he was like a recent hire in the last couple years. Anyway, compared to Kraus, who had a stomach ache this morning, you're very composed, Natsuhi. Kraus's stomach ache from stress? Fair
我
enough.
が息子が情けない。
My son is quite hopeless.
主人にも主人の才能があります。
My husband is talented in his own
そ
way.
の及ばぬところを支えてこそ私は妻なのです。
Supporting him where he is weak is my duty as his wife. She does keep talking about how she's glad she doesn't have to interact with him so much because he's locked away in his study.
うん、
True, true.
し
Indeed.
っかりやれ。
Carry out your task with
私
precision.
が茶番の邪魔にならぬよう。
I'll make sure to stay shut away so I don't get in the way of this farce.
カノン、お
Canon.
父様を書斎までお連れしなさい。
Go with father to
そ
the
れか
study.
ら源氏に紅茶の手配を。
Have Genji prepare black tea.
肩を借りるほど猛録しておらぬわ。
I'm so senile. I need your help to stand up. He's dead. Here I go. He's so senile, he's dead. Refusing Canon's attempt to lend him a hand, Kinzo rose from the flower bed he'd been sitting on. The retired head left everything in Natsuhi's hands and returned to the study at a gentle pace.
様になっているぞ。
Looking
金蔵の亡き妻にも似た貫禄があるな。
And Beatrice is just sitting there showering Natsuhi with praise. You're looking well. You possess a sense of dignity reminiscent of Kinzo's deceased wife.
万一お父様が半魔法の毒素にや
The
ら
off
れ
chance
た。
the toxin does reach father. I like how she's like, you match the dignity of Kinzo's now deceased wife, like Beatrice wasn't Kinzo's mistress or anything. Remember how Nazi is like super defensive about Kinzo not having a mistress and how it's offensive to the family head? Yeah, kind of awkward. Kind of awkward now. Because she's been feeding herself so much bullshit via Beatrice. I can see why she's so irritable about that. On the off chance the magic resisting toxin does reach father, will the magic resolve in an instant? Or dissolve in an instant? Indeed. In the blink of an eye. I can vanish when I please. If someone already dead, such as Kinzo, loses his form, he'll be instantly tossed away like dust by the winds of the sun. Take care. Yes. I understand. You may have talent as a witch. The magic resisting toxin has been building in your system over the years. And yet you're still able to understand magic. If you and I had met during your youth, you might have been a powerful witch by now. I am wife of Ushirmiya Kraus, the family head. I would become a witch or a demon to protect his honor. I'm deeply grateful for the power of your magic. I wouldn't have been able to protect the honor of the family without you. You know, I wonder what Nanjo's been doing in the study. As I recall, the night before the bodies are discovered, typically Nanjo is ostensibly in the like the day of the arrival. Typically Nanjo's in the study, supposedly playing chess with Kinzo. I wonder what he's actually doing. Is he just AFKing, waiting for Genji to show up to play chess with him, or what? Like, I'm genuinely curious about that one. Let's discuss that at another time. I'd like to enjoy it with just the two of us. We're drinking tea.
スリランカに行った友人がバラの香りの素敵な紅茶を送ってくれました。
A friend of mine who went to Sri Lanka sent me some black tea with a wonderful rose fragrance. Oh, Dimbula. Oh, you mean Dimbula? Not bad, it's not bad. You should have some patties on the side. I don't know what patties is. You must serve me some as a reward if I manage to trick everyone for this entire family conference. It's a promise. Understood. I promise. I'll see you later. Time to take care of the guests. Later. The witch made her body crumble into the rustling winds, become gold flower petals, and scatter into thin air. Natsuhi watched her go and then turned on her heels and headed for the mansion. And then there were none left in the rose garden. They are nice gardens. Okay then! It's break time! Complete so far? No, this kind of follows. None at all. You have to pee, why not just go and do it? Rude thing to say. Kinzo's already dead, right? But he's walking around and talking, isn't he? Doesn't that mean this is magic? Of course, I doubt this move would work on you after all this time, Bern. What about you, Battler? This weird. Don't you have to accept the existence of the magic that revived Kinzo? A delusion of by individuals that we have the perspective of.
もしそれがベアトの真似のつもりならば、
You're trying to imitate
不愉
Beato.
快だから即刻やめろ。
Pissing me off. Stop it right now.
やっぱわかる？
Figure it
そ
out.
れでほらほら、バトルはどう答えてみせるわけ？
Come on, come on. How are you gonna answer, Battler?
こうして金蔵がカッポしていることを、
Kinzo was just out for a
いつも
stroll.
のゲームみたいに頭を抱えて、こんなのわけわかんねえよって泣き
Try
言
to
聞
act
か
like
せ
you
て
always
よ。
do. Start holding your head, crying. This makes no sense.
そして全然ダメだぜってお約束の口癖で、お得意のとんでもでぜひ反
Come
応を
on,
聞かせてよ。
use the old, it's all useless catchphrase and give me one of your classic nonsensical counter arguments.
死んだはずの人間が歩き回れるわけないものね。
There's no way a human who's supposed to be dead can be walking around, right? Right?
集団妄想を見せる未知のウイルス、六軒島症候群の仕業とか。
Is this all because of some unknown virus called the Rockenjima syndrome that causes mass delusions? Yes, that's absolutely it. He used the exact same plot device from his previous story.
六軒島だけに住む謎の蝶の鱗粉に幻覚作用がとか。
Perhaps the scales of a mysterious form of butterfly that only live on Rockenjima happen to be hallucinogenic?
謎の秘密組織山犬が作った集団妄想を見せる未知の薬物、プルプルピコピオの仕業とか。
Or is it perhaps a mysterious organization called the Mountain Dogs that made an as of yet undiscovered drug called Puru Puru Picopu, which causes mass delusions?
素敵なとんでもいっぱい聞かせてよ。
Let me hear tons of this wonderful crap. Subtle references. Subtle. Very subtle.
うるさい、黙れ。
Just shut up. Does he not like Lambdadelta's
こんな
job?
のは問題にもならない。
This isn't even a problem. Grandfather is dead at this point in time. There's no way he exists.
それを存在するかのように振る舞っているのは、
The only way he is able to act like he's
なん
alive
と
like
か
this
じい様の死を隠して、親族会議をごまかしきろうとする。夏
Because
日
of
おばさんの
Natsuhi's
嘘
lie.
だからだ。
or attempt to make it through the family conference while hiding grandfather's death.
夏日の嘘。
It's Natsuhi's
嘘
lie.
をつくと死者が蘇るの？
You can revive the dead by lying?
それって夏日の魔法じゃないの？
That make it Natsuhi's magic?
この世界は、ブラウン管を除く前の世界。
Battler doesn't like Lambda throwing shade on his favorite mystery novels. The world is like a brown tube before you've looked in
開
it.
く前の猫箱の世界だ。
It's the world of the cat box before you open it.
夏日おばさんが、じい様と一緒に散歩したと語り、誰にもそれが嘘であることを確認できない限り、
As long as Natsuhi says she took a walk with grandfather, and as long as no one can confirm it's
夏
a
日お
lie,
ばさんがじい様とバラ庭園を散歩したことは、夏日おばさんの事実として
it's
提示
possible
で
to
きる。
display Aunt Natsuhi taking a walk in the rose garden with grandfather is Natsuhi's reality.
だから、じい様が現れることができ
It
る。
makes it possible for grandfather to appear. That extremely unflattering applause was coming from Bernkastel.
ブラボー。
Bravo.
あなた、ベアトがいないと冷静なのね。
You're much calmer without Beato around.
うるさい。お
Quiet.
前も黙れ。
You shut up too.
お待ちなさいよバトラー。
Wait a second,
あんた
Battler.
のご考説によるなら、夏日しかいない場所には金蔵が現れることは確かに可能かも
Why
し
is
れない。
Lambda fighting this so hard? According to your theory, sure, it might really be possible for Kinzo to appear if Natsuhi is the only
夏日し
person
かい
here.
ない世界で夏日が金蔵を観測したと主張したなら、誰にも否定はできないものね。
Natsuhi claims to have observed Kinzo in a world with no one except Natsuhi in it, and no one can deny it, right?
で
What
も
about
あ
Kinzo
の場に
again?
はカノンが居合わせて、
Or Canon again,
彼も
sorry.
金蔵を見てるのよ。
What about Canon in the same place looking at
そ
Kinzo,
れを
right?
どう説明する
How do
気
you
な
explain
の
that?
よ。
全く問題ないな。
No problem. Canon's a servant and obligated to follow
カ
along.
ノン君は、後ろ宮家に雇われてる使用人だ。
Canon Kun's a servant who works for the family. He doesn't want to lose his job, so he plays
夏日
along.
おばさんに、じい様の死を隠すために口裏を合わせるように命令されてるはずさ。
Aunt Natsuhi probably ordered him to keep to her story so she could hide grandfather's death.
だから、
Yep.
夏日おばさんと同じ
These
よ
are all
う
shown
に
to
存
us.
在しないはず
and
の
are
じい
very
様を見る
straightforward.
ことができる。
Canon can see grandfather even though he shouldn't exist, just like Natsuhi can.
あいにくね、ラムダ。
Too bad, Lambda.
もうバトラは、その程度の子供騙しには引っかからないのよ。
Battler isn't gonna fall for that kind of child's play anymore.
そうみたいね。ま、こん
Seems so.
なのゲーム前の前座よ。
It's nothing more than an opening before the game started. We noticed. It's a prologue.
料理の前のアペリティフ。
Like an aperitif before a meal.
飲み屋のお通し、
An appetizer at a bar.
寿司屋の緑茶。
Lambda asked Battler what 2 times 2 is, and is surprised he answered 4. Listen, I know you guys are saying Battler, like, Lambda has really low expectations for Battler, but remember, this is a man who couldn't comprehend being adopted or his father sleeping around, okay? His father that he hates because he basically immediately slept with someone the second his mother died. And who is, like, renowned as, like, some horny Casanova. Somehow having him out of wedlock is, like, utterly baffling him to the point where he's incapable of comprehending it and acknowledges that he physically is incapable of existing. Like, he's like, I can't, like, Lambda is like, even if Lambda is roasting him by giving him intentionally easy mysteries, it's still like, this guy, someone needs to figure out where the bottom of where the bottom of the barrel is for this guy so you can work up to actually challenging stuff for him. It's very possible if she asked him 2 times 2, he might actually answer like 3. Cause he's made some really dumb statements or not been able to dig his way out of some really dumb holes. I'm actually okay with this, where she's like, okay, let's start with the basics. I'm a new GM. Let's do the obvious. Look, someone walking around using... Someone who's dead walking around. They're obviously dead. How do you explain this? Good, he understands that. Okay, we can give him a real question now, later on. Yeah, Battler is incompetent is in red. It's true. Mind you, competence... I should point out, competency is can relate to your skill with something, which is something that can improve, i.e., you can be incompetent at a video game. You know, someone picks up, like my mom picks up a shooter, she's incompetent, but she can get better at shooters, right? You just keep playing, and eventually you become competent at something, so... He is incompetent in red as of what, chapter 2? He could be competent by now. He could be. Green tea at a sushi restaurant.
うるせえ。
Shut up.
青字で言い直さなきゃ先に進めねえのか。
We aren't gonna get anywhere unless I say it again in blue text, huh?
そうね。
Looks
一応
like
も
it.
らえる？
You mind?
じい様がすでに死んでいるにもかかわらず、何事もなかったかのようにカッポしているのは、
Reason grandfather's scrolling around like nothing happened even though he's
じ
already
い
dead.
様が生きていると思わせたい連中が生み出している幻想だからだ。
Is that people who want to make it seem as though he's alive created an illusion of
同
him.
じ思惑を持つ人間たちは、その幻想を共有できる。
People who think the same way can share in that
そし
illusion.
て、あたかもじい様が存在し、ついさっきまで一緒だったかのように語る。
Then they'll talk as though grandfather actually exists and was with them until a second ago.
さも当然のようにカッポしているんだ。
And that's why he's strolling around like it's perfectly normal.
よって、夏日おばさんに組みしていない人間の前に、じい様の幻想が現れることはできない。
Because of this, the illusion of grandfather is unable to appear in front of people who aren't in on this without
だ
Natsuki.
からこそ、書斎に閉じこもって出てこないという設定が必要になるんだ。
That's why they made the story of him shutting himself away in his study and refusing him to come out. That's why they made it up? Yep, okay. Makes sense. They make up the story of him refusing to leave. In the games before now, grandfather always locked himself up in his study. We never met him directly. Or when we saw him, it was either in the prologue or when he was about to die. However, some people said things that made us think he was locked up in his study in a bad mood, such as claiming to have met him only a short while ago, and we blindly accepted their statements and believed that grandfather was in the study. That's why it was possible for an illusion to exist in the study. That's right, in the games before now, the only people who met grandfather were Kraus, Natsuhi, and the servants, and I thought Ava went and talked to him not Ava. I thought, didn't, like, Rosa go talk to him or something? I forget. I think someone talked to him and said he was alive. Because they all stuck to the same story. An illusion of grandfather was able to exist on the island, making it seem like he was alive. And obviously, every single person in his family, Battler's family, claimed that they saw Kinzo. In the 4th arc, right? They all claimed that he was holding them hostage and that he gunned down 6 of their number and then made demands of them from the prison inside the prison complex. A weird fucking thing. I assume someone was being held at gunpoint and had to explain that, like they were being given something to read.
ご丁寧にもお前のゲームの冒頭で
You even showed us a scene at the beginning of the
じい
game.
様の死を隠すために夏日おばさんが南條先生たちを言いくるめるシーンまで見せてくれたじゃねえか。
Your Aunt Natsuhi convinced Nanjo and the rest to cover up grandfather's death.
今さらこんな子供騙しには引っかからねえぜ。
I'm not gonna fall for a cheap trick like that after all this time, especially when he gave her the answer. She gave him the answer too.
やるじゃない。
Not bad.
未知の薬物プルプルピコピヨとか期待してたのに。
I was hoping for the unknown drug Puru Puru Pico Pew. Peel?
そんな妄言口にするわけもないでしょ。
There's no way he'd say something so ridiculous, right? Not yet.
だってその存在を仮定することはファンタジーに屈したのと全く同じだもの。
After all, supposing such a thing exists would be as bad as surrendering to the fantasy genre.
ウイルスだろうと薬物だろうと病気だろうと未知
Whether
の
a
要素であるか
virus or a drug
ノックス第4条に違反する。
or an illness, anything that hasn't been discovered yet is in violation of Nox's 4th commandment. What do you mean the 4th
第4
commandment?
条って
These are the commandments for mystery novels, aren't they?
ノックス第4条
Nox's
未知の
4th.
薬物および難解な化学装置の使用を禁ず。
Yep, it's forbidden for unknown drugs or difficult to understand scientific devices to be used. Those are the rules for mystery novels, right,
殺
Bernkastel?
人にこれを用いてはならないという規則よ。
The rule states that such things can't be used during a murder. Yep, you can't use magic drugs.
なんだそりゃ。
The hell? Or something that's difficult to
未知の
understand.
薬物 X 未知の化学装置 X は魔女と戦う上での一番の武器だろう。
Unknown drugs and unknown scientific devices should be the best kinds of weapons to use when fighting against a witch.
それ
That's what I'm talking
全部
about.
正式なミステリーでは違反だから。
All of them violate the rules of a proper
未知
mystery.
のウイルス
Supposing an unknown
未知の
virus
薬物
an unknown
未知の
drug
病気未知の X を仮定なんて立
an
派なフ
unknown
ァンタジ
sickness
ーなわけ。
or an unknown something being used puts it in the fantasy genre. Gotta settle things with realism now. Note that Umineko uses a modified version of Nox. Looking if the original is not needed. Dude, that's fine. Honestly, I think most series play a little bit loose with all of his rules. Like, they might, even if they directly refer to them, they play a little loose with them. They're like, okay, we're using these so that we can subvert one of them, or something like that, right? And I mean, we've already seen how they screwed up Hempel's Ribbon, so they screwed up. So I can expect them to screw up Nox's rules of mystery or mystery rules. I forget what they are. That's also that's the same rule set that includes things like no hidden hidden routes, nobody who we've never seen before, etc., etc. Basically, like, the murderer has to be someone that the reader could conceivably have guessed, instead of being like, ah, yes, some random person on the street. Well, it couldn't possibly have been guessed. It has to be someone who was introduced to be the murderer. There can't be, like, a hidden room that you never saw during the investigation, etc., etc. A few other rules like that. But yes, unknown somethings put it in the fantasy genre. Alright, my condolences.
それがあなたの推理だったなら、あなたゲームオーバーよ。
If that was your theory, it's game over for you.
何を言ってやがんだ。
What are you talking about?
あなたはベアトと真正面から戦ってきたつもりでい
You
る。
think you've been acting in direct opposition to Beato?
でもね、本当は違うのよ。
But it's not actually
真
true.
正面じゃない。
You haven't been in direct
ずれ
opposition.
た角度で戦い合ってたの。
You've been fighting along with her from a slightly different angle.
あなたがしてた推理ごっこはファンタジー対ミステリーじゃない。
All this playing detective you've done hasn't been fantasy versus
ファン
mystery.
タジー対アンチファンタジーでしかないのよ。
It's been fantasy versus anti-fantasy.
何を言ってやがるのかさっぱりわからねえぜ。
I don't know what you're talking about.
だが
There's one thing I do get.
俺のこれまでの戦い方にケチをつけたいらしいってことだ。
Sounds like you're saying there's something wrong with my fighting style, but there is, battler. Unknown magical drug X that can do it is the same thing as saying magic, because you may as well just say a drug that gives you psychic powers. Thus, you can do all sorts of psychic shit.
私たちは魔女幻想というファンタジーを殺すために戦ってるのよ。
Trying to kill the fantasy known as the illusion of
そ
the
れは
witch.
つまりこの物語を
That means interpreting this tale
正
as a
式なミステリー
proper
で解
mystery.
釈す。つまりミステリーの禁忌に触れるすべての要素は初めから無視して書かれというこ
This
とよ。
means, from the very start, we have to ignore any and all elements that would violate the taboos of the mystery genre.
無視だ。
Ignore, you say?
例えばこれまでのゲームで何度も密室殺人があったでしょ。
For example, several closed room murders have occurred in the games before now, correct? Yeah.
あ
あなたはベアトとその
And every
度に
single
犯
crime
行
scene.
現場で随分と熱心に確認していたわね。
You check every single crime scene. You enthusiastically check with Beato to make sure there are no hidden doors, right? Yep. And she had to
ま
basically
るでそ
say
れ自体が戦いであるかのように。
it leads to a bunch of flashy red truths moving together all over the place. Yep.
赤き真実を織り交ぜてガキンガキンと
Almost as
派
though
手に
that itself is the battle.
あれ私
I
の
call it a
噂
waste of time.
だってノックス第3条で明記されてるんだもの。
After all, it's clearly specified in
秘
Nox's
密の
third.
通路の存在を禁ず。
It is forbidden for hidden passages to
ミ
exist.
ステリーではね、秘密の通路はあっちゃいけないの。
The mystery genre, hidden passages mustn't
つ
exist.
まり正式なミステリーとして
If
解
you want to
釈しよ
interpret
うと
everything
す
as a
る場
proper
合、
mystery, I think I think it means ones that aren't found, right?
隠し扉があるのかどうかなんて論争、初めからしたら負けなのよ。
If you want to interpret everything as a proper mystery, entering this whole debate over whether there are hidden doors or not means you've lost from the beginning. See?
だって
See?
ないんだから。
After all, there aren't any. Yukishi07 made a post about anti-fantasy versus anti-mystery in regard to episode 3 after we released it. Oh, interesting.
存在するかもしれないと疑う時点で。
So
もう
the
ゲ
author
ー
made
ム
something for
オーバー
that. As soon as you suspect they might exist, it's already game over for you, because there can't be any hidden doors, I see.
つまり犯行現場に隠し扉が存在しないことが証明されてないから推理できないなんて。
In other words, you assume you can't start theory building just because no one's yet proven hidden doors don't exist at the
甘
crime
っ
scene.
たれたあなたはミステリー失格。
And that's why I call you naive and a failure at the mystery
その
genre.
時
Okay.
点でゲームオーバー。
You lose the minute you start thinking that there are going to be elements you aren't aware of that are taking
ミステリー
they're
で
factoring
解
in
釈
things.
する戦いをしてるつもりだったんでしょ。
You thought you were waging a fight to interpret everything like a mystery
な
novel,
ら
right?
ミステリーのお約束にちゃんと従わなきゃ。
Then you should follow the convention of the mystery genre. Thanks, Bernkastel. Actually, a good statement. Even with the maniacal laughter thrown in.
そういうこ
Bernkastel,
と
back to being serious. Well, that's it in the
す
nutshell.
べての犯行現場には隠し扉が存在してはならないの。
Hidden doors must not exist at any of the
だから
crime
その
scenes.
存在を確かめる行為はすべ
So
て
anytime
時
asking
間の無駄ってわけ。
whether they exist or not is wasted.
お前が言ってるのはあれだろ。
I think I know what you're talking about, yeah?
どこかで聞いたな。
Heard about
推
it
理
somewhere.
小説の条件10箇条みたいなやつだったか。
It's like the 10 basic rules for mystery novels or something? Yes.
ええ、そうよ。
That's
希代
right.
の魔女狩り大司教ノックスが振りかざす魔女をうがつ10本のくさびよ。
The 10 wedges for drilling witches brandished by Nox, the peerless archbishop of witch hunting.
それこそが魔女幻想というファンタジーと真正面から戦い打ち破るための
They're
正
the
しい
true
武器。
weapons with which to fight and defeat the fantasy known as the illusion of the witch head on.
さすがベルンね。
Just like you
厄
learned,
介な武器を持ち込むこと。
bring such a
ファ
troublesome
ンタジー
weapon.
の大敵だわ。
That's the fantasy genre's arch enemy. I mean, you can still have a fantasy, you can still have a mystery like that.
犯行現場を調べもせずに隠し扉の存在を初めから否定できるなんて。
So you'll deny the existence of hidden doors right from the start without even investigating the crime
俺に
scene?
はそれこそファンタジーだぜ。
Sounds more like fantasy to me.
魔女側を受け持つラムダはファンタジ
Lambda, who's in charge of the witch's side, is
ー。それ
fantasy.
と戦う私はミステリ
I'm the one who's fighting her.
ー。あ
Mystery.
なたは
What are
た
you?
だファンタジーを否定してかわし続けるのがやっとのアンチファンタジー。
You're just barely anti-fantasy, doing nothing but dodging over and over and denying
何から
fantasy.
何まで反対だけど対案は一つも出せない。
You're opposed to everything but can't make counter
あな
proposals.
たどっかの国の
Like a
政治家みたいね
politician. It's true, it's true. Bernkastel
Ulysses.
roast and battle are hard, but he's not flipping out because she's being subtle about it.
お前たちとわけのわからね
She's
え
being
話
too
をするためにここに戻って
subdued
きた
about
ん
it,
じゃね
I didn't come here to speak gibberish with you, dude. I don't think he even gets what
え。
she's
さっさと
suggesting.
話を続けろ。
Continue the story. He's just salty because they feels like they're wasting his time, but he's actually just
静
being a
かにな
dumbass.
さいよ。
Why?
あんたの後ろの眠り姫が辛そうよ。
The sleeping princess behind you looks like she's in pain, doesn't she? When he turned around, he saw Beato's living corpse resting in a chair. However, sweat glistened all over her body, and it felt like she was breathing a little harder than normal. She looked as though she was suffering from a high
ベ
fever.
アート、ど
Beato,
うしたんだ
what's wrong
大
with
丈
you?
夫か
大丈夫かって。
What do you mean, is
あ
she
んたお
okay?
かしなこと言うのね。
You say some weird shit,
そ
man.
の子を殺すためにあんたは戦っ
Aren't
て
you
るんで
fighting
しょ
to
う
kill
が。
this girl? He is.
あんたに
Finally
合わせ
remember?
て第5のゲームを改装しているけれど、
You reround the 5th game for your
ゲーム
benefit.
は今ベルンがかなり追い込んでいて、魔女幻想を打ち破ろうとしているの。
Right now, Byrne's done a good job cornering her opponent. Is about to break through the illusion of the
そ
witch.
の存在が否定されかかってるんだもの。
Her existence has been
苦
almost
しむ
completely
のは
denied.
当然だわ。
It's only natural she's suffering.
あなただって今
Just
金
now.
像が存在するわけがないと魔女幻想を打ち破ったわ。
Even you smashed the illusion of the witch by saying there's no way
あな
Kings
た
of
の
exist.
攻撃がベアトに通った証拠よ。
Here's the proof your attacks reached
彼女
Beato.
のその苦悶
The
を
agony of hers. I tried to at least wipe away the sweat on her forehead with a handkerchief. It's true I promised I'd let her die, but that was supposed to happen peacefully. I wasn't planning on making her suffer first. My goal isn't to make the sleeping Beato suffer like this before killing her, as if they'd seen through to my mixed feelings. The two witches grinned. Yeah, I think they like the suffering. You're not gonna win that one, Battler. Alright, continuing the 1985 visit, I think?
姉貴が遺産遺産って騒ぐから親父に聞かれちまったんじゃねえかよ。
Oh my god, they're still going. Are we seriously going through the entire 1985 section? Oh, that sucks. Okay, Dad only overheard because you kept yelling about the inheritance, right, Aniki?
私のせいじゃないわよ。どうしようもないでしょ。
It isn't my fault. It was just an unlucky coincidence.
たま
Okay?
たま廊下にいて聞かれてたなんて事故でしょ、事故。
Just happened to be in the corridor and heard. It was an accident. I tell you, an accident.
予算か二人とも
You two give it a
今回
rest.
は運が悪かったと思って諦めるんや
Call it our bad luck this time and give it up.
男の機嫌なんてほっとけばコロッと治るもんやで
You leave a man alone, his mood will pop right back up to normal.
気分を害したお父さんがおかしな衣装を残さないでくれるといいわね。
Hopefully father's feelings weren't hurt so much he writes up some strange will. The relatives took a deep breath and fell silent.
こらマリアムはしゃがないの。
Hey, no jumping around either, Mario.
エンジェちゃんが転んだらどうするの。
What will you do if NJ-chan falls?
お待たせしました。
Sorry to keep... Right, NJ is here for 1985 route. Sorry to
船
keep
の
you
準
waiting.
備が整いまし
The
た。
boat is ready.
ほな行くで
Alright, let's go. So, we didn't have to actually do this scene. They're leaving.
今は
Awesome.
ぐちぐち言っても始まらんで
Won't get anywhere by complaining now.
またのご来島
Goda's
心
here.
よりお待ち申し上げております。
We eagerly await your return to the island. And they have a discussion about how stressful that was. Natsuhi was sitting on a bench in the rose garden looking completely worn out. However, when she noticed Kanon and Kumasawa were coming back, she immediately sat up straight, regaining the dignity of the head wife.
船は出ましたか?
Did the boat leave?
はい。
Yes.
たった今、出
It
港なさい
departed
まし
just
た
a。moment ago.
そうでしたか。
I
見送り
see.
ご苦労でした。
Good job
主
seeing
人
them
は
all.
どうしてますか?
What is my husband doing?
先ほど、お部屋にお戻りになりました。
He returned to his room a short while ago.
お休みになられるとのことで
He's
す。
resting. Since the previous day, Kraus had been almost overwhelmed by anxiety over the thought that Kinzo's death might be discovered. When the family conference ended, his weariness must have suddenly got a hold of him. However, the way he refused to let even a sliver of his true intentions slip out, and the manner in which he managed to act as though everything was normal, showed Kraus's nerve was nothing to sneeze at. Bluffing.
どうでした
One
か?
of his two skills, other than boxing. How was
彼
it?
らはお父様のことを不審がってはおりません
Did
で
they
した。
seem to notice anything suspicious about father?
いいえ。
Not at all.
親方様に遺産分配の話を立ち聞きされたと。エヴァ様などはそれは大騒ぎでしたとも。
If and the rest were having a big ruckus over how the master overheard them talking about the inheritance,
あ
right?
の慌てっぷり。
Wasn't
傑
their
作
panicking
で
just
した
priceless?
ね。
Probably. That's kind of funny. That'd be kind of funny if you were trying to hide that, right?
大層取り乱しておいででした。
They're quite shaken up.
しかし、熊沢もなかなかの演技力ですね。
So you really are quite
あ
an
の廊下
actress.
での慌てっぷりは、本当にそこにお父様がいらっしゃったかのようでしたよ。
The way you acted all panicked in the corridor made it seem like father really was there.
熊沢さんは、そういうのが大変お上手ですから。
Kumasawa's not only in on it, but they're helping fabricate encounters with father. Ooh, nice.
あら、やだやだ。褒めすぎです
Come on,
よ。
I don't deserve such praise.
熊沢の病欠の電話は簡単に信じないよう、よく源氏に言っておかなくてはなりませんね。
I always have to give Genji strict orders not to easily swallow your stories when you call in sick.
それは手厳しゅう
That's
ご
just
ざい
too
ま
harsh,
す。
man.
本当にご苦労でした。
You did a good
お
job.
前たちと源氏と
Both of
シ
you.
ャノンには、
Genji, Shannon.
過去1ヶ月分の休暇の買い上げと、新たに5日の有給を与えます。
Both of you will get your pay for a month's worth of past vacation time, as well as 5 extra days, as promised.
秘密の手当ですよ。
Consider this a confidential benefit. So everyone who's aware and in on the plan gets paid extra.
取得に際しては、源氏と相談し、他の使用人たちに気取られないように。
Talk with Genji when you collect your pay so the other servants don't find out.
ええ、
Sure,
心
we
得ており
understand.
ますとも。
Shannon, Cannon, Chio, or Kumasawa Chio, and Genji.
ねえ。
Right?
熊沢さん、
Kumasawa-san,
声が大きいです。
your voice is too loud.
お、いけ
Not
な
good.
いいけない
Not。good. And now you know why the lazy and conveniently sick Kumasawa is taking shifts for the family conference?
そうですね。
Yeah, I'd take those shifts too. She got paid what? She gets a month and 5 days worth of pay? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Or is that a month's vacation plus 5 days? Which would be like, I don't know, like 1 or 2 days plus 5 days? That's still pretty good for working that. That's like, you work the weekend and you get like 6 to 7 days worth of pay. That's pretty good. Work the weekend. Get the weekend and 7 days extra. Work the weekend, get like quadruple time. That seems nice.
この話はこれまでとします。
Let's leave it at that for the time
各
being.
自、通常のお勤めに戻るように。
We should all return to our regular duties.
そうそう。
Right.
ゴーダに
I had
特
go to
別に
prepare
お
a
茶
special
の
tea.
いただくように。
Tell him to serve it. And see in 1986. Natsuhi let them know she wanted to be left alone for a while so she could drink tea in the rose garden. The black tea that had been carried all the way to the bench was the Sri Lankan tea Jimbula she'd promised Beato along with some patis. Sitting on either side of the snack, staring at it curiously, the wife of the head and the witch could be seen.
これが私はてっきり
This patty.
焼き菓子のようなものだとばかり。
I assumed it would be a baked sweet. Wait, what is it? Patis. It's a liquid? Patis is a liquid. Interesting. It's a sauce. It's fish sauce. Patis is fish sauce? Alright. Used as an ingredient or condiment in the Philippines. Interesting. Okay. Wasn't expecting that either. Yeah. It seemed to be some kind of baked sweet. Wrong patis? Is there another patis? It's like literally every result. There's a plant. I'm not seeing too many options. Rice grass, the plant? Maybe? There's not a lot of answers. Apparently, Natsuhi, not realizing that it had a curry-like spicy flavor, started choking after putting it in her mouth. Describe it in Japanese terms, it was like fried dumplings stuffed with mashed curry-flavored potatoes. Okay. From Sri Lanka, they're like... Yeah, it's some curried pouches. Okay. Very different, and also not... Also spelt in like 5 different ways on Google. Okay. I looked up patis snack, and like the results had it spelled in like 4 or 5 different ways. Alright, so fried dumpling, so it's like breaded, it looks like it's breaded something filled with curry, oh, it's curry flavored, mashed curry flavored potatoes. That sounds really good, actually. That sounds really good. Like breaded, like curry flavored potatoes that are breaded, mashed curry flavored potatoes that have been breaded and deep fried. Sounds really good. As a household dish, it could probably be pretty popular with the kids. However, it was something of a shock to Natsuhi, who expected the treat to go along with tea would be sweet. Yeah, it sounds good, but not when you're expecting a dessert. Very true. I don't even know if it would go well with tea.
知らんのか?
Didn't you know?
リンブラといえばこれだぞ。
Impila always goes with
紅
this.
茶ならクッキー。
Black tea always goes with cookies. This isn't cookies.
ああ、チョコでも良いな。
Chocolate's good too.
日本茶なら羊羹だが、塩昆布でも良い。
You must have sweet bean jelly with Japanese tea, although salted konbu
中
also
国
works.
茶なら小籠包。
Chinese tea goes with
わ
Chinese
らわは月
dumplings.
餅も好きだ。
So I like mooncakes too.
驚きました。
I'm
随分と
surprised.
文化に詳しいのですね。
You know a lot about various cultures, don't you?
まあ、伊達に1000年は生きて
Well,
お
I
ら
haven't
ぬ。
been living 1,000 years
世
for
界の
nothing.
名茶は一通り試した。
I've tried refined teas from all over the world. Is she just pairing things she knows from one country with their tea from the region? It's like, Chinese. Dumplings go with all Chinese tea. Yes, because Chinese people make dumplings. That seems to be her rationale here. You've tried refined teas from all
お
over the
茶の
world.
世界旅行といったところか。
Perhaps you could call it a journey through the world of tea?
確かに、それは立派な世界旅行ですね。
Seems like it would be a wonderful way
こ
to
のよ
travel
う
the
な
world.
紅茶の楽しみ方もあると、
Before today, I
今日
never
初
knew
め
one
て
could
知りま
enjoy
した
tea
ので
like this.
これは貴重な体験です。
I'll treasure this experience.
わらわは六軒島より出られぬ身。
Well, I can't leave
これくら
Rockinjima.
いしか旅をすることはで
It's
き
the
ぬ
only
で
way I
な。
can travel.
そなたはどうか
For you.
富豪の妻らしく世界を優雅に旅してきたのであろうが。
I'm sure you've elegantly traveled the world like any wealthy wife might.
ジェシカが生まれる前は、 主人はいろいろな国に私を連れて行ってくれました。
Before Jessica was born, my husband took me to many countries so he could gamble away all his money there.
嫁ぐまでは一度も海外旅行をしたことがなかったので、どれも新鮮な体験でしたよ。
Before marrying, I'd never once traveled overseas. Each time was a fresh and new experience.
そなたも窮屈な家に生まれたらしいな。
Sounds like you were also born into a very rigid family.
厳格でしたが、素晴らしい教育を施してくれましたよ。
But they gave me a wonderful
そ
upbringing.
れを窮屈と呼んでは、お父様とお母様に失礼です。
It would be rude to my parents to call it rigid.
雄弁に窮屈であると語っておるわ。
It's an elegant way to call it rigid. I suppose so. Kraus might have pitied Natsuhi, or he might have wanted to take her away from the rigid Ushiromiya family for a little bit and let her rest, or he might simply have wanted to take his wife around countries he knew well to show off everything he knew.
主人はお父様と違ってアジアの国が好きで、
Unlike father, my husband is fond of
香
Asian
港、
nations.
台湾、韓国にタイ、
Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea, Thailand.
マレーシアも行きましたっけ？
I think we also went to Malaysia.
クラウスめ、金蔵の西洋かぶれに反抗したつもりか。
Kraus tried to rebel against Kinzo's Western
し
taste.
かしアジアも良いぞ。
But Asia's good
日
too.
本人は丸ごと西洋かぶれだからな。
After all, the Japanese are strongly influenced by the West.
外国といえば西洋しか想像せん。
When they think of foreign countries, only Western ones come to
西があ
mind.
れば東もあろうに。
You mustn't forget the East.
私も西洋の知識はそこそこにありましたが、東洋の知識はあ
I
まりなかっ
myself
たも
knew
ので、
a few things about the West, but I knew very little about the
旅
East.
先でいろいろと主人にからかわれましたっけ？
I seem to recall my husband making fun of me now and then during our travels. Beato subtly peered into Natsu's heart as the latter grumbled that the trips had all been very tiring. That's usually how vacations are, though. You need like a day or two to recover.
いいか？
Are you listening?
これは貧乏という。
This is called an erica nut.
ここでは庶民的な嗜好品だ。
It's a popular luxury food item around here. It looked like a small gourd-like nut that had been smashed with a cucumber wedged in it. At a glance, it looked as though it would probably taste like pickles.
なるほど。
I
こ
see.
れをかじればよいのですか？
I bite it here? As she tried to bite the one her husband was holding, he suddenly moved it away. It felt kind of embarrassing, like she was a fish after bait.
待て。
Wait,
貧
wait,
乏
wait.
には食べ方がある。
You have to eat it in a
確か
specific
に
way.
かじるのは正しい。
Yes, you're supposed to
か
bite
じ
it.
る。
Bite,
もぐもぐと噛む。しかし食べてはなら
but
ない。
don't swallow.
え？
What?
かじって噛むのに食べてはならないのですか？
When you bite and chew, you can't swallow it? Yes.
かじって噛む。
Bite and
食べ
chew.
てはならん。
Don't
そし
swallow.
て汁も飲んではならん。
And don't drink the juice. What?
胃を痛めるからな。
It'll make your stomach hurt?
わかりません。
I don't
どう
understand
してそ
either.
んなものを食べなければならないのです？
Why would you eat something like that?
ガムのようなものと思え。
Think of it like gum. Yeah, but you can swallow the juice from gum.
噛んで味を楽しむ。
Chew it and enjoy the
噛んだ
flavor.
くずと汁はこうして紙コップに吐き出す。
Take the scraps you've bitten in the juice and spit it out into a paper cup like this.
あなた、お口の中が真っ赤ですよ。
The inside of your mouth is bright red.
拭いて拭いて。
Wipe it off. Even her favorite handkerchief, which she wiped Kraus's mouth with, had bright red marks on it. Something that's poisonous if eaten or drunk and makes the inside of your mouth so bright red. Why would you panic over flavor it or coloring the inside of your mouth? Yeah, it has an equivalent role to chewing tobacco. Yeah, that seems reasonable. You're not supposed to swallow that either. You're supposed to spit it out, right? I also think chewing tobacco is really weird though, so... Even though it's something that you commonly see all over the place in, like, historicals and fucking westerns and stuff, I still think it's weird. It makes the inside of your mouth so bright red. Dude, red's at least a semi-natural color for a mouth to be. Let's talk about, like, turquoise or blue or green. Having to spit something out after you put it in your mouth, how indecent. Thinking this way, Nazi adamantly refused Kraus's invitation.
嫌です、嫌です。結構です。結構です。
I don't need any.
こういうのは異文化体験だぞ。
It's a cross-cultural
ここでしか
experience.
できない体験をしなければ旅行の意味がない。
What's the point of traveling if we don't do things that can only be done here? Krause kept chewing, ignoring the fact even his lips were being
こ
colored
い
bright
つは
red.
親父殿も好きでね。
Father likes these
昔は
too.
取り寄せたのか、屋敷のテラスでももぐもぐやっていたものだ。
He must have ordered them long ago, because he used to chew away at them on a mansion's
夏
terrace.
日が来てからはやめたようだがね。
Although it seems he stopped ever since you arrived.
ほら、君が私よりも尊敬する親父殿も愛用していたんだぞ。
Look, Father, the person you respect more than me enjoyed these all the
ほら
time.
ほら、遠慮なく試したまえ。
Look, don't be shy, take
い
some.
やいや、やめてやめ
Stop
て
it, dude,
あなた
stop. Just like chewing tobacco gives you mouth cancer? Wait, really? During travel, Krause had the innocence of a child. He didn't even conceal his jealousy of the respect Natsuhi normally gave Kinzo. Just being able to see that side of her husband made traveling all the way to another country worthwhile. Krause urged her even harder to bite it, but Natsuhi, undaunted, ran from place to place and finally yelled that he was being too pushy. Krause was miffed the whole bus ride. What a child to let a little thing like this get him down. Natsuhi thought exasperatedly. Then a native tour guide in the bus took out one of the areca nuts and started explaining about it. It had apparently been a beloved luxury item in these parts since ancient times, similar to tobacco. Just like in Natsuhi's case, it was starting to get disliked by young people and was becoming obsolete. Furthermore, it was treated as a good luck charm in this area, and known as a symbol for couples. She looked at her husband's face. And she's like, give me 5. He turned away abruptly, but it looked like his cheeks had gotten a little red. His mouth was already red.
んで、夫の肩に身を委ねて、手なんか握っちゃったりしたわけか。
You then leaned on your husband and held his hand, didn't you?
なんだ、そなたら夫婦、結構純愛ではないか。
Heck, you and your husband share a pretty pure love, don't
燃
you?
え上がっちゃったであろう。
She got fired up?
その晩とか。
You don't like that night? Red-faced and avoiding Beato's eye, Natsuhi tried to hide her embarrassment by swallowing the patties whole, chewing with her cheeks puffed out like a blowfish. Beato said, yep, this is the best snack anyone could have with tea, and nodded several times, a broad smile on her face.
もっとも、それも新婚の頃の話です。
That's only how it was when we were
今
newlyweds.
は六軒
Right
島
now,
を出ることもできぬ。
I can't even leave
カモの
Rockinjima.
鳥ですよ。
I'm a bird in a cage.
それを言うならわらわも同じよ。
It's the same for me.
死ねども死ねども、六軒島よりは逃げられぬ。
I can keep dying, but I can't escape
カゴの
Rockinjima.
鳥はわらわも
I
同
too.
じだ。
I'm a bird in a cage.
あなたのことは知りませんし、詮索もしません。
I don't know much about you and I
し
won't
かし
pry.
軽んじれぬ境遇であったこと
But
は
I do
察
see-
します。
You face circumstances not to be taken lightly.
老名主を気取るつもりもないわ。
I have no desire to act like the chief
同じ
prisoner
カ
here.
ゴの鳥同士。せいぜい仲良くしようぞ。
Be friendly, as fellow birds in this
わ
cage.
らわはそなたを気
I've
に入
taken
っ
a
た
liking
ぞ
to。you.
そうですか。あり
Really?
がとう。
Thank you.
この度の親族会議における使用人たちへの指示や采配は
The
見事であ
instructions
っ
and
た。
orders you gave the servants for this family conference were
金蔵
superb.
が何時にどこにいて、何をして何を残したか。
You took everything from where Kinza would be and when, what he did, what he left
それらを
behind.
見事に共有させ、矛盾
Put
な
it
く
together
組み合い
splendidly without contradiction.
それらの緻密な計画書は高度な魔法陣のそれと同じ美しさがあったぞ。
The detailed written plan of yours had the same beauty as a high-level magic circle. Make it look like Kinzo actually existed and was living his own life his own way. She'd written his schedule for the day down to the finest detail and made the servants follow it to the letter. When did he meet whom? Where? What did he leave them? When did he do what? Where? What changed? As a result, even though the relatives never saw Kinzo, they hadn't suspected in the slightest he hadn't been there. Ava and the rest truly believed Kinzo would just happen to be walking through the hall when he heard them talking about the inheritance and went into a rage. Everything went as Natsuhi's plan had predicted, down to the finest detail. And the cooperation by the servants had also worked smoothly down to the finest detail.
万一にも知られるわけにはいかぬ秘密ですので。
We had to stop this secret from getting out no matter the cost.
念入りに策を練りましたから。
Why, I double-checked the plan thoroughly.
その緻密さと意志が絶対の成功を呼ぶ。
Your willpower and attention to detail summon success with
どうやらそ
certainty.
なたは魔女としてはラムダデルタ教の一
As
派
a
ら
witch,
しい
it
な。
seems you're in Lady Lambdadelta's
それを
camp.
魔法と自覚したならば、いつでも魔女見習いを名乗れるレベル
And
だ。
at your current level, as soon as you become self-aware of that as magic, you'll be worthy of calling yourself a witch apprentice. One day, can we get Natsuhi to have a witch costume? That'd be cool. Kinzo liked betel nuts, or archaea nuts, or whatever they're called. Is the only hint for his hometown you're gonna get, just so you know. Interesting.
それを魔法と呼ぶなら、熊沢あたりは差し詰め、仮病の魔女ですね。
You call that something like that magic? That would make Kumasawa the witch of feigned
忙しい
illnesses.
日に限って腰痛で休むと連絡があります。
It's only on busy days she calls us to say she's taking the day off because of her bad
毎
back.
年親族会議の日にはいつも
Like
です。
every year's family conference, for example.
ああ、熊沢は違う違う。
Oh no, you got Kumasawa wrong
もっ
there.
ともっと高位の魔女であるぞ。
She's the witch of a much, much higher
正
level.
体知ったら驚くぞ。
If you knew what she was, it'd shock you. And time freeze. Watching these two have their pleasant chat was another pair with steam rising from their black tea. However, this second pair was in a world the first couldn't see, where golden roses bloomed.
ロノウェが気を利かせて、同じディンブラとかいう紅茶を入れてく
Ronove
れた
was
ぜ。
kind enough to make us some of that Dimbula tea, too. Beatrice responded by saying, It felt as though Beato muttered something. For the first time, he felt as though something had gotten through to her. Surely she'd taken an interest in the black tea and felt like drinking it. Thinking this, Battler took Beato's cup in her hand, making her hold the cup. Beato's eyes trembled sadly and her fingers shook, almost as though she couldn't even move her fingers as she wanted to, and was mourning the fact she could no longer enjoy the tea she'd once loved by her own power. That's how she looked, at any rate. So Battler put his hand on Beato's, grabbed a hold of the teacup, and lifted it to her lips. And then, though it were only a single mouthful, Beato sipped. The days she'd been locked in a killing fest with red swords and blue wedges already seemed like a distant past. Not only was Beato unable to do that, it was difficult for her even to move her body as she pleased. Even just drinking a mouthful of black tea like this was hard.
どうだ?
How is it? Is Beato responding? Is she getting better? I'd like to say yes, but I'm afraid we're going to have to find that one out next time.